Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, Football Edition, brought to you by our primary sponsor, 3Chord. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, joined today by Keith Brown, AJ Fairchild, and Tony Fairchild. So thanks again for joining, guys, and we are now into round 2 of the playoffs. Thoughts going into this week?
Just games trying to get better, I think, as you play along. Weather's not going to be as nice, maybe.
It's getting colder out there. Feels more like week 2.
Yeah, as evident by today was snowfall on the ground. Friday, I think it's supposed to be 60.
That'd be
overcast,
good.
60, so nothing like today. Welcome to reality today, I guess.
I know I was at work and looked out the window, and there's a nice little flurry going on, and the snow was sticking on the ground a little bit as well.
Big flakes today.
Yeah, definitely. So, and like Tony, you said, it's only going to get harder from here. Now, pretty much all the teams are going to have like some kind of winning record as well. It only gets harder as you progress in the region.
Yep, teams only get better.
Yep, and something interesting I just wanted to look at and point out how the seeds did. So obviously with the expanded playoffs, people always wonder, how do teams match up, with 16 teams per region? Well, number 1 seeds went 16-0, as everyone can probably assume.
Yeah.
Number 2 seeds went 25-3. 3 15 seeds advanced. 3 seeds went 25-3 with 3 of the 14 seeds advancing. 4 seeds went 24-4 with 4 of the 13 seeds advancing. The 5 seeds went 22-6 with 6 of the 12 seeds advancing. The 6 seeds went 24-4 with 4 of the 11 seeds advancing. The 7 seeds went 20-8 with 8 of the 10 seeds advancing. And the 8 seeds went 10-18 with 18 of the 9 seeds advancing. So just kind of interesting there to see how all those teams fared out. And that's always a big conversation, whether, is expanding the teams per region the right move? Is it not the right move? Does it decrease the quality of the playoffs? So I think that's just interesting for everyone to see and how they kind of fare out, which is pretty much how everyone can assume. It's basically the same as NCAA March Madness. You figure the top seeds are always going to move on pretty well. And then, you get to the 8-9 matchups, and that's always a toss-up. So
Right.
Looking at the NWO Sports Game of the Week, we're looking at Winford at Tenora, and this game went into overtime with Winford winning 31-28. We were all at that game broadcasting with Tenora Rams live. Winford actually led this game at halftime 14-7. Looking at total offense, Winford had 385 yards with 312 yards rushing. Tenora had 236 yards with 145 rushing. Turnover battle, Winford had 2 with 2 fumbles. Tenora had 1 with a fumble and then 1 with an interception. Looking at some top players of note from Tenora, running back Grady Gusweiler had 16 carries, 75 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown with 3 receptions for 59 receiving yards. Running back Joey Geisinger, 4 carries, 35 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. Quarterback Dominic Graziani was 5 of 17, 91 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He had 12 carries for 27 rushing yards, but he did have 1 interception. So, guys, we're all at this game. It was a heartbreaker. What were your guys' thoughts of this game?
I mean, just to get started to talk about before we get into all the other crap that happened, but it was a slugfest. I mean, that's what we thought it was going to be. It was just 2 heavyweight champions going at it and just pounding each other, kind of like Rocky and Apollo kind of thing, just beating each other up against the ropes. But going into overtime, I guess I wasn't really surprised. I was expecting it to be a good game, and just a tough break at the end there. But Winford played a nice game. 2,000-yard rushers. I think Tenora did a really good job of shutting them down for the most part. I know they still had 312 yards rushing, but I thought Tenora kept them in check for the most part. And when Tenora I thought Dom had another nice game, kind of controlled the ball. I know he did have that interception you guys said right before halftime, but I thought Tenora played really well. Winford played well, and when obviously you're playing, somebody's got to win and somebody's going to lose. I mean, you're playing until there's a winner and a loser.
Right.
I guess I'll be the one to bring it up so we can talk about it, but the officiating issues, I don't even know what to say about it. It's rough, and everybody we've talked to as far as officials, from other officiating crews and everything like that, have all said that the way the situation was handled was very poor, whether the call was correct or not correct or whatever. The way the situation was handled when the ball was thrown up in the end zone, and the Rams seemed to have come down with it, but it was called a touchback on the field, and then the refs get together and overturn it, and it was ruled a touchdown, which I don't know why. They never really gave an explanation as to why or what happened. But when you go back and watch the video, which Logan had up all week, and
I'll attach to this podcast as well.
Yeah, it pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, They weren't fighting for the ball when they hit the ground, nothing. They were separated. The Rams had the ball in his hands, so at the very least, it was an incomplete pass. Yeah. There was never possession by the Winford player. And for the ref that was right there next to the play to immediately wave it as a touchback, an interception, for the other ref from 20 yards away, from the line judge 20 yards away, to come running down there and overturn that call is terrible mechanics.
Absolutely.
For an officiating crew. I've officiated multiple sports, and one thing you don't do is come in there and overturn a call like that unless you have something that obscured his vision. And that's not something that obscured his vision. When the guy clearly comes up with the ball, we've talked about it with a couple of the officials. One of two things can happen there. He either confirms the interception or he rules an incomplete pass because maybe he had a better view of whether the ball hit the ground. He cannot come over in there and overturn and say, no, that's a touchdown. He has no grounds to stand on for that. And it played a huge part in the game. It seriously affected the game. Now, I do have to say kudos to the Rams for coming back out there and not letting that ruin their game. They came out and just kept fighting over and over again all the way into overtime. And, if that call stands as originally called, could be a totally different outcome.
And I think the main argument that, Winford's coaching staff and those had, I think they were calling for dual possession. But if you look at the actual term of what a catch is in terms of like the rules, a catch, you must maintain control throughout the entire act of a reception.
Right. And there was all the way to the ground.
Correct. And there was no kind of control from really either side. You could make the argument, maybe the Tenora kid, because he came down with it, but other than
the Winford kid did not have control whatsoever. I mean, you look at the video, he did not even have remote control of it.
I don't know that he maybe even touched the ball with his fingertips barely.
Yeah. I'd say it kind of went into his hands, but the second they started coming down, the ball was gone.
I mean, Jacob Bishop came away with that ball. He did a nice job pulling the ball away. It was fourth down for the people who didn't know that. It was fourth down on that play. So either way, Tenora Rams should have came away with the ball. I'm dumbfounded as how they come up to that decision. I guess that's my question I'd like to ask the referee is what did you see from 30 yards away that made you come in there and say, hey, it was a touchdown? Because Jacob Bishop comes down with the ball and hops up right away. So there was no scuffle on the ground, no wrestling for the ball. He clearly came right back up with the ball. So what did he see from 30 yards away that turned it over? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Keith?
Well, to start off, guys, so we probably knew we were in for a rough night when there was a flag for delay a game on the opening kickoff.
That was the first.
Sure. I mean, I've never seen
I had never seen that ever.
Game penalty on the opening kickoff. But I mean, that's a game that had everything that anybody would want in a playoff game. It had excitement, had ups and downs, it had, unfortunately, an ending that we didn't want to happen. Questionable calls, probably a couple of them went either way. Coach Becker probably would say neither one of those calls won or lost a game for us, but in all honesty, they probably did.
Or it definitely had
an impact because Rams were up 21-14, 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, fourth down and 17 for Winford, and you guys went through the whole play. One way or another, three things can happen. Touchdown, we should know that didn't happen. Interception, that appeared to happen, or an incomplete pass, that's a possibility. Regardless, there's no way, as you guys will see the video if you haven't already, that could be ruled a touchdown. So the Rams are going to have the ball 1st and 10, either from the, say, 20 or 30, and try in old-fashioned Tenora Rams football, try and run the clock out. Right. So they're still up 21-14. But, yeah, everything for about a 5-minute period from the team to the fans to even us. Like, you could come back from commercials, like, we were, like, deflated. Like, what the heck just happened here?
It took the momentum out of everything.
Totally, yes. Totally totally changed the complexion of the game for about a 5-minute period. Renford stopped the Rams on the kickoff. They came right back and scored almost instantly to go up. As AJ said, give Coach Becker and the Rams credit. They picked themselves up and marched down and scored with about 40 seconds to go. And I should have asked Coach Becker last night, but I actually wondered how close he was to going for that 2-point conversion that he set up for twice.
They ran out in the muddle huddle twice, and the first time, it was kind of a cat and mouse game. Winford called a timeout, whatever. Tenora comes out and again, and then we're all looking at each other like, oh, snap. I think Tenora's actually going to go for it. And then Tenora, I believe, called a timeout. I said it's just one big chess game trying to see who's going to line up and what. So I'd be curious to see if that would have played out.
Right. I mean, it's just unfortunate. You go from extreme high, you got the ball third and goal from the 2 in overtime, and you think you're going to bust it in. So everybody's like, it's basically life in general. You're at a high, and just a flash of a second, everything can change.
Yeah,
no matter what you're involved in.
I mean, it was, like you said, the excitement was there. I mean, the Rams, like you said, picked themselves back up even after all that other crap that was going on, and they played hard and they fought and literally, I mean, they had a chance to win, and we were kind of talking before we got started here tonight. The Rams ran the ball on second down, got down there. I thought it was like on the 1 yard line or whatever it was, and I was even saying, just line up and run it again. And then they ran an off tackle. I don't know the kid's first name, but Blair. Caden Blair from Winford made a great play, got some penetration in the backfield, upended Gus Weiler. Again, you can't see necessarily where the ball came out, but just unfortunate. Grady hasn't turned the ball over, I don't know if at all season. And in that situation, the ball comes out. You don't want to leave that in the umpire's hands. And unfortunately, it was a heartbreaker. I mean, the Rams had that game. They had 2 shots to punch that in the end zone to win that game, and third down, whether he made it or didn't make it, people can argue that until the cows come home. But unfortunately, that's what happened, and it just. But like I said, a great game to be at. And, as we were broadcasting it, we could tell the other games were finishing up because our numbers kept going up as far as viewers. Everybody was trying to check it out, especially once we went into overtime, it really started picking up.
And the last thing, too, I was going to say, you can't take anything away from Winford because that's a very well-coached ball club. I said I played with their head coach, Kyle Skidmore, at Findlay. He was a phenomenal player. He's a good person. I knew he'd have those kids, right, and he did. Those kids played hard. The Blair kid had a phenomenal game running the ball and playing defense or linebacker as well. But Coach Kyle Skidmore, hats off to him because he had those guys prepared. And anyone, you take away all the extra throughout the game, it could have really been either team's ball game. So
I tell you what, they kept running that dive play. Winford did, and man, we just I don't know, Tenor just couldn't do anything with that. But for the most part, they just kept punching that through there, and that's how they scored twice, I think. Right? They just punched it.
Of their 312 rushing yards, I bet you they had 150 to 200 yards off that play because there were several times they would break it loose for 70 yards.
I don't know if it was a trap or what they were running. But boy, they were blocking it well, and there's no doubt that's why they have 2,000-yard rushers in the backfield.
Just one more thing, guys, before we close it up. But even when we were leaving, we stood out there, talked for a good 15, 20 minutes after the game, and most of that senior class was still sitting over there on the bench. I mean, they did not want to leave either. The same with them. Their season just ended in a flash. And half of them, I think, still had their uniform on over there, sitting on the bench. I think a couple of the parents got good photographs of that on their social media page. But, Rams, fantastic senior class going out. Unfortunately, on the losing end. But overall, for 4 years that those guys gave the program, you couldn't ask for anything better.
When you talk about that, Keith, that was the point you just made there when they're going on the losing end. When you look back at it, there's only 7 teams that are going to end the season with a win, through all the divisions. So one team out of each division is going to end the season on a win. Everybody else is going to end on a lose. So,
and it's a game that's going to be talked about for forever for Sonora High School football. He didn't get blown out 52-0, and nobody cares. I mean, this is one of the best Sonora playoff games probably ever.
Probably compares to the Columbus Grove game, right?
Or when Logan was playing against Minster, unfortunately.
Oh, I forgot about that one. We don't want to think about that one either. We don't want to think about that one
That's all right. Well, we'll keep things rolling here. I know we talked a lot of Tenor football, but again, we've covered them all year, and, overall great season by them. Let's move on to the next game. Defiance at Bay. Defiance won this game 14-7. This game was actually sealed by Defiance by Kelton Gibbs, defensive lineman, with a strip sack. So that was an awesome play by Kelton. At halftime, the score was 14-7. This would be a ground and pound game for the Bulldogs as they only had 17 passing yards for the game. Total offense did not have stats for those. Looking at some top players here from Defiance, running back Brogan Castillo, 22 carries, 117 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Garrett Rodenberger had 1 touchdown reception. Athlete Anthony Wilder had 10 carries for 62 rushing yards with 2 receptions for 13 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts from the Defiance at Bay game?
great win for him. I mean, being able to travel, what was it, like 2.5 hours, something like that.
Quite a drive, yeah.
Travel 2.5 hours and get off the bus ready to go play some hard Defiance football. That's fantastic. And to see them come out and bowl away with the win against Bay, that's great. And I love seeing Brogan Castile get back into the game in a significant manner. You know, he's been that threat lingering there for the last couple of weeks since he came back from his injury, and now he's finally starting to get back into that rhythm again.
Yes, Coach Cooper rallied Defiance and a huge road win, as AJ said. That's a long road trip on a bus. I mean, just, time you get there, you probably took a nap and you got to get the bearings back in order, and get ready for your warm-ups and get in the game mode. But probably during the week, they just practice just one play at a time, which is what you guys say. Just win that play. Don't worry about the final score. Don't worry about we're traveling all this way against a higher seed. Just go play one play at a time and win that play. And obviously, Coach Cooper focused on that this week, and a big W for the Bulldogs. And we'll see what they have this Friday.
When was the last time Defiance won a playoff game? It's been a while, right?
They won last year.
Did they win one last year?
They had that similar road trip where I think they scored upper 40s.
Oh, wow.
I believe so.
I forgot about that. But just like AJ mentioned, Brogan Castile getting back in there at 22 carries. But, I looked at Brett Zippel threw the ball 7 times. I think they threw the ball more when it was pouring down rain a few weeks ago. You know what I mean? It's like, so I'm not sure. Obviously, they saw something against Bay that they didn't want to throw the ball, I guess, but worked out for them. And a 14-7 ball game. It was 14-7 at halftime, and just pound the rock and kill the clock.
Yep, exactly. And one thing I saw with Defiance too is they definitely traveled in style. They had a couple charter buses that they took over to Bay, and obviously we've talked to Coach Cooper and the amount of support that they get from the community. It's awesome to see, and to help those kids travel and at least enjoy the bus ride a little bit rather than sitting in just a regular old school bus bouncing down the road and
right in comfort.
This is when we pulled into Sonora. I noticed Bucyrus had a charter bus as well.
They did.
Okay.
They brought a charter bus to Sonora. So unfortunately, when we went to Bucyrus last year for our regional game, we did not have a charter bus.
The old school bus.
The old school bus. But hey, if they got somebody that's willing to do that for them, then that's fantastic. It's like you said, makes it a more of an enjoyable ride.
Yep. You talk about the support they get from the community, but that's also something we've talked about here before, is the support the community gets from the players. They do a lot of volunteering and community service stuff around the community. So to see, it's a very mutually beneficial relationship they have in that school district and throughout the town, which is awesome to see that not only is the community giving to them, but they're giving back to the community, even as high school kids with nothing but service to offer. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah, Coach Cooper definitely runs a first-class program over there. So let's move on to the next game. Looking at Napoleon at Bellevue, and Napoleon won this one 41-24. This game at halftime was 21-12. Napoleon, looking at total offense, Napoleon had 356 yards, 233 rushing. Bellevue had 383 yards with 308 passing. Turnover battle, Napoleon had 1 interception. Bellevue had 4 with 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Looking at some top players from Napoleon, running back Lawson Seibel, 19 carries, 112 rushing yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he also had 2 receptions for 16 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Running back George Eggers, 10 carries, 77 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Devin Dietrich, 3 receptions, 85 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Defensive back Trey Rubenstein, 10 tackles, which led the team, 1 forced fumble and fumble recovery for 40-yard touchdown. And he also had 1 interception. And I want to say, I had someone that told me about that forced fumble, and he said it was another phenomenal play. I guess Trey kind of came up to a guy and literally stripped it out of him, grabbed it, and just started running, and he ended up scoring it for a 40-yard touchdown.
Oh, wow.
So, again, Trey's always making huge plays. And then quarterback Owen Espinoza was 7 of 14, 50%, 123 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns, but he did have 1 interception. And again, whenever you score high points, there's a lot of people and a lot of players on the top player list. So, guys, thoughts of this Napoleon at Bellevue playoff game?
Napoleon defense obviously coming through big for turnovers on the road in a playoff game. I mean, if you can come away with 2, you're happy, let alone 4. So, huge game on the defense by the Wildcats. But again, we say about Trey Rubenstein, most defenses are going to try and take him out of the game offensively, so he makes up for it on defense. Pick 6. I mean, right there. So, hey, I can't score on offense, so I'm going to make up for it on defense. So, again, Trey Rubenstein makes up for, like I said, his frustrations on offense at times and, comes through on defense. So,
yeah, you see the kids making a lot of different names popping up on the in the playlist, like you said, Logan, and it's nice that they have that kind of weaponry to go to.
Exactly.
When one person's getting shut down, we'll go to somebody else, and those other guys stepping up. Because that's the other thing is if somebody gets shut down, then that other person's got to be willing to step up and take that load, and hopefully it opens it up. But nice win by Napoleon. Coach Swery did a nice job getting the boys ready to go, and they get to go to week 2.
And again, like we've said almost every week since the beginning, kudos to Coach Swery rallying the troops. And I mean, he had a rough 3 weeks and he was feeling a lot of heat, but we're happy for him.
Yeah,
we had him on. We had him on the coaches show, and he's one of those coaches that's no nonsense, and we're going to do it like this, and we're not changing our ways. And here we are, Napoleon in week 2. So.
Yeah, and that's funny that you say that, Keith, because he was taking a lot of heat at the beginning. I think everybody was wanting his head on the chopping block, right?
Yep.
And just stayed the course.
Yeah, and you could tell, the kids are bought in. He's getting the most out of the kids, especially over the last couple of weeks with running backs Lawson Seibel and George Eggers. They've been running the ball very efficiently, and when they do, that complements their passing game as well. Because we've seen Napoleon can go out, they can throw the ball really well, and they can run the ball really well as well. So it's just a nice compliment that they have for that run and pass game right now, and it's taking them into the playoffs. Obviously, this week they're going to be a little more battle tested against a Glenville team, which we'll get to later. But for the most part, Napoleon's firing on all cylinders. Let's move on to the next game here, and we're looking at Eden at Waynesfield Goshen. Eden won this game 34-27. It was a huge win for Eden as the 14 seed. They took down the 3 seed in the region. Total offense, Eden had 468 yards, 308 passing. Turnover battle, Eden had 3 with 3 interceptions. Looking at some top players, Kyler Sapp was 26 of 45, 58%, 308 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. He did have 3 interceptions, 16 carries, 143 rushing yards, 8.9 yards a carry, with 4 rushing touchdowns to complement that. Wide receiver Max Radabaugh, 8 receptions, 114 receiving yards. And Briggs Gallahue and Kyler Sapp both had 1 interception apiece on defense. Guys, thoughts on the Eden at Waynesfield Goshen playoff game?
Go ahead.
One thing that really surprises me is Eden's 3 interceptions they threw, and they still come away with a win like this. It means their offense was still able to produce outside of those drives, which is impressive. Anytime you come away with a 3 turnover deficit, that's going to be hurting big time. And especially when you're the underdog coming in, and you're coming in against Waynesfield Goshen, it's impressive to see them be able to pull out the win there.
It's nice to see Eden adapt as well. Yeah. Looking at Kyler Sapp, for him to carry the ball 16 carries for 143 rushing yards. Obviously, everyone and their brother knows Eden does not run the ball.
Right.
But for their quarterback to adapt, he averaged 8.9 yards a carry and contributed 4 rushing touchdowns. Kudos to them and Coach Bob Olwin. Obviously, we know what his offense entails in the pass game. But for them to adapt and make do or make best of what's going on, it looks like obviously they struggled in the pass game a little bit, but they worked things out and they got the win at the end of the day.
Was that like a 3-14, Logan? Was that I think that was a 3-14 game?
Could have been, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So, any Bob Olin offense, you're obviously going to throw the ball around. And Friday night was the perfect elements for a Bob Olin offense.
Yep.
No wind, slight wind, no rain. It's not wet. It's
warm.
Yeah.
70 degrees. Now, if he was playing today, which clearly he's not, it may have a different outcome. But perfect outcome for Coach Olin there. Big win for Eden. I think he played Macomb.
Coach Olin, you think about that back in the day, quarterbacks don't typically run for him. They stand in the pocket and sling it. Radcliffe wouldn't run at all. And, to see Kyler Sapp come out and run for 143 yards, guys, you do the math, he was responsible for 451 yards of the 468 yards they had. He was, so that's, Kyler Sapp basically just took the team, threw him in the back, and carried him to the win, and quite literally.
Yeah.
But a great game for Eden, and a nice defensive game, and keep the W. So good luck in round 2.
Yeah, it's nice to see Kyler Sapp show off some of his athleticism as well. We know he's an excellent baseball player. I believe he plays shortstop, but I'm not entirely positive or not sure. But it's just another thing. You put your athletes back there at quarterback, and you let them have the ability to go out and make plays, and good things happen more times than not. So excellent job out of Eden, and we'll continue to root them on. Next game here, Fredericktown at Archbold. Archbold ended up winning this game 37-6. Archbold was actually up 30-0 at halftime. Total yards, Archbold had 333 with 167 rushing. Fredericktown, 200 yards with 116 passing. Turnover battle, Archbold had 2 with 2 interceptions. Fredericktown had 3 with 2 fumbles and 1 interception. Some top players from Archbold. Quarterback Cade Brenner was 9 of 14, 64%, 166 passing yards with 3 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. Wide receiver Chase Miller, 4 receptions, 95 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. A nice game from him. And athlete Jack Hurst, man does it all. He had 4 carries for 60 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 reception for 46 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. So, guys, thoughts the Fredericktown at Archbold game here?
I tell you what, Archbold, you look at it, 166 passing yards, 167 rushing yards. That's about as balanced as you can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a nice game by Archbold, coming out, taking care of business, and hopefully everybody stayed healthy and getting ready for round 2. Got a big game this week.
Yeah, not much more to say about it. Kind of expected Archbold to come out there and perform the way they were performing. You know, it's one of the top teams in our area. So to see them come out and do this is exactly what's expected, and seeing it also, you know, I feel like they're prepared for next week, you know, this coming week here against Coldwater. If they came out and struggled in this game, that would be a little more worrisome. But they came out and took care of business. Now they can look on to next week with, you know, some comfort a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Yep. I will say that Fredericktown does have one of the coolest nicknames of any playoff team, the Freddies.
Yeah, the Fredericktown Freddies. Same as the team we played last year, Johnstown Johnnies.
Yeah, that's right. but
Yeah.
going off of what AJ said, yeah, Archbold outside of that Liberty Center game, which you've probably hammered to death, are probably playing as well as Liberty Center in the area. So a big matchup this week, which we'll preview later against Crestview. But yeah,
Coldwater.
Or Coldwater, yeah, not Crestview, Coldwater.
And sometimes, you know, I look at the score, and I know at the end of the game it says 37-6, but some of these scores I think you have to take with a grain of salt, because teams get up at halftime. They're going to put in their second string, their backups to preserve. Obviously, a lot of times the key come playoffs is whoever has the most healthy players.
Right.
I mean, this game was up 30-0 at halftime. I mean, honestly, it could have been probably even more. So.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't want to get up on a team and then get something freak happen and somebody gets hurt by doing something stupid. Exactly what you said, Logan.
But yeah, Archbold came into this game and they were up 30-0 at halftime. They took care of business and they move on to week number 2 in the playoffs. Let's move on to the next game. Looking at the Green Meadows Conference, Arlington at Antwerp, and Arlington won this game 27-20. It was a heartbreaker for Antwerp. Antwerp led at halftime 6-0, and Arlington would outscore Antwerp 21-14 in the fourth quarter. So talk about an exciting game coming down to the final line. I didn't really have stats from this one, but all that I had was quarterback Carson Ultimus had 2 touchdown passes, and he had 1 touchdown run. So, guys, thoughts of the Arlington at Antwerp game?
It's unfortunate to see Antwerp fall in the first round. I mean, we feel bad for them. Everybody for Antwerp obviously feels bad, the players, etc. I had a chance to watch a little bit of this game Friday night after our game.
When do you sleep?
Honestly,
I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt you, but
I like not to dwell on the Tenor game, but I'm not even a coach or a player, but I had a rough time sleeping Friday night.
Right. So did I.
I mean, so I watched this game. Antwerp, it's almost like Arlington kind of ran a little variation of the Navy offense, where sometimes they have 2 or 3 backs back there, run the option, run the dive, and Antwerp just had a little trouble stopping the run. And again, it's just like Antwerp was just missing something this year. It's like when you make cookies and you forget to put the butter in. I don't know what it was, but they just didn't have the fire that they had in the previous couple seasons.
Yeah, I completely agree. All year they've been just winning enough against some of the bigger teams. You know, Tenora, they beat them well, but they didn't play well.
Right.
Wayne Trace, they struggled against a couple other games. They lost Ayersville. So they've been playing kind of their competition level, and you know, I don't want to say it, but it was bound to happen unless something changed. And unfortunately for them, that senior class is so talented, and it's kind of disappointing to see them get knocked out in the first round. I had much higher hopes for them.
Yeah. And guys, I'm not, first off, Antwerp people, I'm not picking on you, but, you know, you look at the schedule, right? We talked about Tenora's schedule being one of the toughest in the Northwest Ohio, the first 3 games. And then you look at Antwerp's schedule, the first 3 games, probably not that tough. right? I mean, they're playing half games for the most part. I'm guessing. The starters were only playing half games, and then when you come down to the playoffs, now you got to play 4 quarters. But I look back at that, and then I look back at that, and I also go, well, they had to play 4 quarters against Antwerp or against Sonora. They had to play 4 quarters against Wayne Trace. They had to play 4 quarters against Ayersville. So maybe that's not entirely true, but when you come down to the end and you're battle tested, and you got to stand up there and go toe to toe and punch people in the face once in a while. Did that come into play here when you got down in the game?
I do have to laugh because Tenora did play one of the tougher schedules, and they both ended up in the same place, losing in the first round.
Right. So, I know.
That's what I was going to say. I know how much can you say that strength of schedule actually plays into it, because all the GMC schools ended up losing in the first round. So I mean, Tenora did play a tough schedule, which I think it benefited them. Antwerp did play a weaker schedule, but at the end of the day, they still lost in the first round. Right. I think it's just one of those things. Like, I think, Keith, you hit it on the money. It's just like they were missing something this year. I know, obviously, Ultimus, they missed out on the fact that he did not run the ball like he did last year. So you take away that dual threat. Last year, I believe he had 20-something rushing touchdowns and close to 1,000 yards rushing.
I think he had about 980.
Yes, and you didn't have that. I felt like Leachty didn't run the ball as much, and he's a great, excellent athlete. It's just like they didn't have, like you said, they were missing something, and, they struggled to stop the run as well. But at the end of the day, that senior class is phenomenal. Probably one of the better classes to ever go throughout any school in the Green Meadows Conference. You had tons of athletes. I'm not going to name all of them because there's so many. I don't want to leave anyone out because that senior class for Antwerp has left their legacy. They've left their everlasting impact because they've had that dominance for 2-3 years. And you look back, Antwerp had a long stretch where they had losing records, where they lost in the conference. And, one year, actually, I think it was my senior or junior year, they didn't even have a varsity program.
Right.
To see where that they are now, a competitive program, they're going to go out there and they're going to play you hard 4 quarters. Last year, they made it to the regional finals. They won Green Meadows Conference titles. You couldn't ask for much more. Coach Hale's done an excellent job there at Antwerp, and it's nice to see the impact that they had. But at the end of the day, would have liked to see Antwerp go a little bit further. But again, it's tough. I mean, you start playing against the best of the best once you get to the playoffs, and if you're not bringing your A game, then someone else is, and you're going to end up on the losing side of things. So.
Yeah, and we mentioned it all year that Antwerp has been struggling against the run, and if Arlington did that Navy kind of offense where they're just pounding the ball and Antwerp can't stop it, I mean, that's what we talked about all year was the run game. Yep. Defensive run game.
And just to close the book on this too as well, like Antwerp, Carson Ultimus, Brewer, Leachty, and all the other ones, they're one of those classes that kind of filter down to the elementary. Like every kid at recess is Carson Ultimus or Landon Brewer. You know what I mean? It's just one of those feel-good things that hopefully will continue on for the next 6 or 8 years, where Antwerp's football program continues as to where it has been the last few years.
And to see the excitement out of the community when we were there for the Antwerp-Tenora game. Holy cow.
Oh, boy, that was awesome.
You looked across the parking lot. There was not a single place to park. I feel like everyone in the town of Antwerp was at the game. And I've talked to some other Antwerp people, and every single Antwerp home game, everyone had to go. They had to go support the kids. They had to go see what it's about. They had to go get their fish at the fish fry, too. So,
well, hopefully they continue that.
Yes, exactly.
Don't bail out because those seniors graduated. Keep supporting those kids and, develop that little small town atmosphere when you go to the games.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Looking at North Central at Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry ended up winning this one 40-8. Patrick Henry jumped out to an early 40-0 halftime lead. Total yards, Patrick Henry had 317 with 88 rushing. North Central had 125 with 101 rushing. Turnovers, Patrick Henry had 0. North Central had 1 with an interception. Looking at some top players, Patrick Henry had wide receiver Landon Johnson, 5 receptions, 97 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He had 1 carry for 15 rushing yards. So good to see Landon get some more touches on the offensive side of the ball. We know he's an all-state wide receiver, and he's one of the best athletes in the area. Running back Houston Miranda had 11 carries, 77 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. Quarterback Lincoln Krieger, and I really like what I'm seeing out of him. He's starting to really develop and take on that role as quarterback excellent lately. 8 of 11, 73%, 129 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He had 4 carries for 33 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. From North Central, running back Joe Burt had 15 carries, 49 rushing yards, and running back Cameron Laney had 5 carries, 51 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on the North Central at Patrick Henry matchup?
For me, I have several things. I'll try and keep it short. I guess for me, what like you said, Logan, Lincoln Krieger, it's like, I guess with any of us here, with our job, if you're handed new responsibilities, like right out of the gate, you're kind of like, you're fiddle farting around and it's not easy, but then 2 or 3 weeks down the road you can do it with your eyes closed. Similar situation here with Lincoln Krieger. He probably never practiced as a quarterback. I mean, you have Nash Meyer back there he's a 4-year starter, I believe, so you very seldom get snaps probably.
And Krieger was like, in the beginning of the season, you had Landon Johnson, Lincoln Krieger. That was like 1A and 1B wide receivers. So,
Yep. So as each practice that goes by, each game, it gets more natural. He's feeling more comfortable, and he has Antwerp in round 2 of the playoffs with a chance to advance to round 3, actually. So,
here's Arlington.
Yep.
Arlington.
Yep.
Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, it's just we kind of talked about North Central coming out and seeing where they stacked up against some of the other teams in the area, and Patrick Henry's probably not the one that I would want to match up against as North Central, because they're, one of the more dominant teams, especially in the NWAL. They do compete very highly, and they come out and kind of get spanked around a little bit. But, they did have a good season this year. So come out at the end of the season here with heads held high.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect anything different. I figured Patrick Henry would handle this game very easily, but again, I agree with you guys with Lincoln Krieger coming out and starting to play well, hopefully, and continues that throughout the playoffs, showing that he can throw the ball when needed. Miranda didn't run for the 100 yards, 150 yards that he normally runs for. So Keith's boy, but North Central, they've been spouting out there, wanting to play people, wanting Montpelier, wanting Eden, want somebody to play them, and they're going to graduate that senior class that they started their program with. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this thing can continue and they can pick up some teams, some local teams that'll play them.
Yes. I mean, but North Central, two playoff consecutive seasons for a startup football program.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive as heck. Coach Thompson doing a great job. But yeah, as what Tony said, you need find this team a conference, please.
That's the first step. They need to get into a conference. And,
please,
and I'll say right now, I think the Toledo Area Athletic Conference, they got to let them in. I mean, I think it makes the most sense. Yep. And this is a program that the kids are motivated, the community's motivated.
Yep.
They're stretching their neck out. It'd be nice to see everyone else jump aboard and help them as well. So
yeah, I mean, because what I'm afraid of, guys, North Central has been in there, like Keith mentioned, 2 years in a row. They've been in the playoffs. They've been doing well. They have some great athletes up there, and I'm afraid that if they don't get in the conference, they're going to lose the program altogether. Because people are going to get tired of driving 2.5 hours to watch a ball game at some neutral site. Yep. And then you're going to end up losing the program altogether. And they need to get into a conference. Somebody needs to let them in. I don't know who lets them in, but somebody's got to let them in the conference. Let them in a conference. Like you said, the Toledo Conference is the best one for them. They can play against Montpelier, play against Eden, and that's right there, hometown fields. And then start to develop some rivalries against those teams that are like literally right down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing right there. You hit it right on the head. Small town rivalries. Yep. We see it 3 or 4 times during our journey throughout the 10-11 game season, and you establish a small town rivalry with these small schools, and boom.
I just that alone will be enough to motivate kids to get out, because it's so much excitement around a game like that. You start wanting to be a part of that going forward. And I agree with getting in a conference is just going to make it more stable, because they're not going to be traveling the 2 hours. Right. The community won't have to support them entirely. The conference will kind of gather around them, and they'll be playing more home games and things like that, and build up their program more stable.
I just feel like North Central's the little kid going door to door selling candy, keeps on knocking on the door, and you're the person behind the door that just keeps ignoring it.
It's like you give him a rock, like Charlie Brown.
And it's like, come on, man, just open the door, buy some candy from the kid. Let North Central in the conference. So that's all I keep thinking about. And seriously though, if they're going to stretch out, they've had success the last couple of years. Obviously, strength of schedule has always been a question, but they're going out to play whoever they can,
right?
And they've got to get into a conference. So whoever's out there, they need to be let in. I don't want to. I think it's just I don't know what I want to say exactly. Actually, I do, but I probably shouldn't.
Don't be afraid.
For lack of a better term, it's BS.
Absolutely.
To not let them in and give them a shot. I know people say that, well, they're worried about longevity of the program. They're worried about this. They're worried about that. Obviously, they've got the numbers right now. Just let them in and play. If all those fails, it's not like it's the end of the world, because teams have dropped conferences before. Teams are changing conferences now at an ever changing rate. Look at geez, college football, the Pac-12 is basically merged into the Big 12 and the Big 10. So I mean, it's not like there can't be change, but to help support this program, I agree. Any way that they can get in. So let's look at the next game here. Looking at Elmwood at Liberty Center. Liberty Center took care of business and won 56-14. Liberty Center dominated from the start and was up 56-0 at halftime. Things got out of hand quick. Total yards, Liberty Center had 452 with 372 rushing. Elmwood had 257 with 243 passing. Turnovers, Liberty Center had a clean 0. Elmwood had 3 with 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. Check out this stat line here. Liberty Center, the 4 top players, we got 4 different running backs here for you folks. Running back Colton Cruz, 3 carries, 117 rushing yards, 39 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. Running back and brother Trenton Cruz, 3 carries, 44 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Running back Waylon Rentz, 4 carries, 68 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Running back Thomas Moeller, 4 carries, 63 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Can you tell me that the Liberty Center Tigers like to run the football? So, guys, thoughts on the Elmwood at Liberty Center game?
Oh, it's awesome to see them starting to develop a little bit more players. You've always got your Colton Cruz and your Trenton Cruz, and you got the run game, but to start getting a few more people involved, just going to help develop a few more threats. Now, I'm sure some of these plays came off of, once you're up a lot. They were probably, I'm sure they had their second string in mid-second quarter. To be 56-0 at halftime, I didn't realize that. That's wild. I don't think I've ever seen a score like that before. And to be able to put up that many points, I mean, you had to have your third string in by, late third quarter, I would think. Not surprised by Liberty Center performing like this, but I kind of feel bad for Elmwood in this situation.
Really not much to say on this other than, I guess, which we usually end the podcast with, just suck up every moment, because last year these two teams played, and this was probably the best game in the area.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
When these two teams matched up, I think was it the regional final?
Yep, at Perrysburg.
Yeah.
So, and fast forward a year, Liberty Center still probably better than they were last year. Than Elmwood, your seniors graduate, so just enjoy every second that you have, because you never know what's going to happen the next year.
Yeah, definitely not the rematch of the game last year, that's for sure. But guys, the one thing I'm going to point out about here, congratulations Liberty Center, great win. I'm sure they rested some people as they should have. But this is what happens when you have a 10-0 Liberty Center dominating team going against a 3-7 team that shouldn't be in the playoffs. I'm sorry, a 3-7 team should not be in the freaking playoffs. Yep. Period. End of story. Find somebody else that's got a better record than 3-7. And I know you do all the points and it all adds up, and first round points and second round points and all that. 3-7 team should not be playing a 10-0 team. This is the kind of stuff you're going to have, and the game's over at halftime, and everybody paid $15 to get in by the OSSAA, and they're literally watching. That would be like paying $100 to go watch the Lakers and LeBron sitting on the bench not playing. I'd be upset. Right. And then you go to watch this game, and
I mean, arguably it's decided in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
I don't know what the box score looked like, but
that's one thing.
I believe in the first quarter they were up either 26 or 28-0. So yeah, it was under control from Liberty Center from the start. But again, excited to see what Liberty Center is capable of. I personally think it's state championship or bust for them, because they have all the pieces, and I think they have a really good chance of going all the way this season.
Well, I tell you what, that region is tough. I think it's probably one of the toughest regions in the state. I mean, you got Hartsbold and Edison, Coldwater, and Liberty. I mean, you got an Oak Harbor. Oak Harbor's 10-0 in that in that region too. That's who Liberty Center will match up against possibly before they get in the regional semifinals. So definitely going to be tough to get out of there. But they had a nice game the other night.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Lakota at Columbus Grove. Columbus Grove won this one 42-17. Grove was up 42-3 at halftime. Looking at total yards, Columbus Grove had 368 with 187 rushing. Lakota had 293 yards with 229 passing. Turnovers, Columbus Grove had 3 with 3 interceptions. Lakota had 3 with 3 fumbles. Some top players from Columbus Grove. Running back Trenton Barraza, 10 carries, 104 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. The Tank. Wide receiver, Kyle Hopkins, 3 receptions, 124 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Wide receiver Zach Reynolds, 6 receptions and led the team with 50 receiving yards. Quarterback Landon Best, 10 of 15, 67%. 180 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but he also contributed a rushing touchdown. Guys, thoughts at the Lakota at Columbus Grove game?
As Logan says all the time, offensive line, sophomore Trenton Barraza. He averaged 10 yards a carry, 10.4 yards a carry. Yeah. I mean, this kid is just going to, you can't say enough positive things about him. I mean, every game he just shines and shines and shines. Now he's averaging 10 yards a carry here in the first round of the playoffs. But a big win by Coach Schaefer and Columbus Grove.
So, I'll say the same thing here. 42-0 at halftime, and this team's Lakota was 5-5, but it's the same thing. Columbus Grove went in there and took care of business, and like he said, Trenton Braza rushed for 100 yards. And how long did he really play? 42-0 at halftime. Yeah. May have seen a series after halftime, but be nice to see where Columbus Grove goes from here.
Yeah, I really don't have much more to add. Congratulations to Columbus Grove on a big win.
Other than I'm looking at the 6 turnovers. It wasn't raining, was it? Was it raining in Columbus Grove and not raining anywhere else? But other than that, yeah, nice game.
Yeah, and other than that, like you guys said, none of that is possible without the offensive line. Right. And those guys have dominated all year for Columbus Grove, so they continue to do a very nice job and pave the way for Barraza. Next game, Northern 8 game, and this is actually for the tournament of the 8-man football, and this was Sandusky St. Mary Central Catholic at Holgate, and Holgate won 50-12. At half, Holgate was up 36-12. Total yards, Holgate had 400 yards of offense with 249 passing. St. Mary Central Catholic 111 yards with 74 passing. Turnovers, Holgate had 1 with an interception. St. Mary Central Catholic had 1 with 1 interception as well. Quarterback Xavier McCord, 15-22, 68%, 188 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but he also had 9 carries for 25 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Wide receiver linebacker Dylan Becker, 6 receptions, 129 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss on defense. Wide receiver Caden Giesecke, 8 receptions, 69 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. And running back Damian Briner, 15 carries, 89 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Thoughts on this 8-man matchup here?
You said this was for the championship?
This is in the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, this week actually, because Holgate won, they're playing Toledo Christian for the championship, and that's at Liberty Center.
Oh, I'm playing on the turf.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's kind of cool.
No, good. I mean, Xavier McCord still, just playing lights out in my opinion. He's probably if he's not the best player at 8-man football, he's probably one of the best. Definitely the best in the area, in my opinion. Just good luck to them this coming week.
Yeah. Keep up the hard work, Xavier. It's been fun to watch him and the team grow here with the 8-man football, and always continuing to go out there and perform well. Even with the loss they did have, it was still a good performance. So keep it up, and good luck with the championship this week.
Yep. For those that don't know, as Logan said, it is at Liberty Center Saturday night. Buckeyes play at noon. There's really no big games at 7:00 on a Saturday night this week. I don't think.
Hey, Michigan, Purdue, 7:30.
Okay,
that's a big one.
55-0 at the half. So get over there. It's supposed to be decent weather. Travel over to Liberty Center. Everybody says we want to watch 8-man football. We want to see what it is. So get over there and check it out. This is like a rivalry for 8-man that's coming up. So
yeah, there's a lot of good, and Toledo Christian is who Holgate's playing. Yep. Both very good teams. Toledo Christian actually beat Holgate earlier in the season.
They did.
So this will be a rematch, and Holgate's the reigning champs from last season. So there's going to be a lot of good, talented players, and they're really going to showcase what 8-man football is all about in Liberty Center on Saturday night. So excited to see that. I think most likely I will be there. Some of these guys might tag along as well. So we're excited to go cover that game, and should be a really good matchup. So we're going to go ahead.
Oh. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town, so I won't check it out.
Tony's the party pooper here. So, but yeah, that concludes all our game recaps. So we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. 3Chord is a family-owned and operated business who offers the highest quality embroidery, screen printing, sign and promotional items to customers of Northwest Ohio at competitive prices. Locations in Archbold, Napoleon, and Bowling Green. Check them out at 3chord.com. That's THREECORD.com. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio, give them a call today at 419-438-7265. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, we are always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. For any of your auto body or collision needs, be sure to check out Bat & Stevens Body Shop. Voted the #1 body shop in Northwest Ohio by Crescent News readers. Give them a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio, call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to the hot takes. But today we have something a little bit different, and that's a sub-segment within the hot takes, and that is buying or selling. So how this will work is we're going to roll through a couple quick points. We've got a whole list of them, and basically we have our signs. We're either we're gonna buy, which means we agree with it, and we're buying all in, or we're gonna disagree and we're gonna sell. So we're gonna go ahead and see who's buying and who's selling for each of these statements. All right. Well, Tony, we'll roll through this direction, looking left to right on camera, and Tony will have the privilege of leading off every single one. So
Be on the hot seat every time.
A little bit of pressure there. So, all right, let's start with the first one. Buying or selling, Tony? Napoleon would go undefeated in the GMC. Buying or selling?
Sell.
Selling.
Sell.
What's your reasoning?
No, I don't think Napoleon goes undefeated. I think, I think Tenora would give him a run for the run money. I think Airsville could give him a run for money. Napoleon, obviously, this year could give him a run for money.
All right. I am selling. I just think, Napoleon is playing very well. I think that they've shown that they can be inconsistent at times, and I think there's teams out there in the GMC. We saw teams in the GMC kind of beat up on each other this season, but I don't know that Napoleon can pull off undefeated against every single GMC team. I think there's enough talent in the GMC that one of them gets it done against Napoleon. AJ?
I'm selling here as well for the exact same reasons. I think, depending on the year, too, how the matchups happen, but I think, there's teams in the GMC that could definitely compete with Napoleon.
Keith.
Uh-oh. Buy. Buy.
Why are you buying?
If we're just going off this year, possibly sell. But if we're going long term, just say a 10-year span, I really think Napoleon would probably go undefeated in quite a few years.
Fair enough.
I just think they have more talent, more kids.
Obviously,
there's nothing against GMC schools. They're just, I just think they have more apples to choose from the tree.
Sure. That's why they are a bigger division, and they compete against bigger schools as well. So very valid points. Next one, we had another Napoleon one sent in. Napoleon 6-2 at the very worst in the NWAL. Tony, are you buying or are you selling?
That one's a little tougher, but sell. I think.
Why are you selling?
I think Napoleon could get beat by PH as well. I think PH plays well at times, and again, it depends on the year. If you went this year, I don't know. Napoleon can go 6-2.
All right, myself, I am selling. Reason I'm selling is because you had a great point. Patrick Henry, a healthy Patrick Henry, fully loaded. They could definitely compete. Obviously, you look at Archbold, Liberty Center. I think that they could possibly take Napoleon. Not to say that Napoleon wouldn't have a chance in those games, but then you throw in some wild card teams. If you catch Wasion on a good day, if you catch Bryan on a good day.
I was thinking Bryan.
There are other teams that can compete, and I just don't know that. I think they could possibly have more than 2 losses if we're looking at this season. So, AJ, buying or selling?
Right there with you guys again on the sell. I think the NWAL this year is obviously very heavy on the Liberty Center, Archbold, Patrick Henry a little bit, especially before Nashmeyer got hurt. So I think Napoleon would probably fall somewhere right around the Patrick Henry. So I think a 2-loss, 3-loss would be most plausible for them.
That's been a hot topic this year, by the way, is Napoleon and Patrick Henry, because there's been a lot of talk if who would win if they were to match up. And I know obviously Patrick Henry's Division 7, Napoleon is Division 4, but I think that would be a good game to watch, especially with a healthy Nash Meyer, both teams fully loaded going at it. Keith, buying or selling?
6-2 in the NWAL. Do they actually play 8 league games, or do they just play 7? Let's start with that. So I don't think they play 8. So they couldn't actually go 6-2.
Yeah, that's true.
So somebody's math is off. Whoever sent that hot take in.
Well, there's Evergreen, Bryan, Wasion, Liberty Center.
Is there 8? Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm asking.
Delta, Bryan.
Guess we can find out.
If there's 8 teams. But yeah, so they would only play 7. I think there's 8 teams. They would only play 7.
Correct.
So,
Let's say 5-2.
okay, 5-2. So I'm going to buy that. I'm the buy Napoleon guy today. So, again, they have. I think they just from the size of the school, they have more athletes to choose from. Not saying that the athletes are better; they just have more to choose from. Play Liberty Center every year, and they actually have a tough time beating Liberty Center. So that would probably be one of their 2 losses. But if they would go 5-2 every year, I would solidly buy a 5-2 conference record for Napoleon and NWAL every year.
Next one, looking at buying or selling. All GMC teams need dropped in the power rankings. And obviously, for the GMC teams, they all lost this week in the playoffs, which that includes Ayersville, Paulding, Tenora, and Antwerp. So, Tony, are you buying or are you selling?
Well, I have to go back and look at the power rankings to see who around them lost, whether they all drop or not. But I would buy that. They all lost. They needed to win to keep their stock high, and I would buy that one.
All right. I'm looking at it. All GMC teams need dropped in the power rankings. I'm the one who creates the power rankings. I'm going to buy. I know it's tough luck. A lot of those teams, they didn't really show up and show out in the playoffs. But again, I think the GMC overall was kind of down this season. And I think it's a valid point that I think they maybe need dropped just a little bit. So, AJ, you buying or selling?
I'm going to buy here. It's tough to say because they were in the playoffs at least. There's some of the teams towards the bottom half that weren't, so they were able to make it to the playoffs. They did lose, so yeah, I could see them dropping in any rankings, but how far, I have no idea.
Keith, buying or selling?
That one I'll probably buy. All GMC teams lost, as you guys pointed out, so you can't actually, unless you lost by 1 point to like a Division II team or something. But I'm buying that. Obviously, if you lose, you're going to drop for the most part. So,
for me, other than Paulding, Paulding got thumped a little bit in the playoffs, but everybody else was. They battled.
Ayersville got within 28-20.
Yeah,
so
Tenora lost in overtime. Yep. Antwerp was close. It was. So, it is what it is. But bye.
All right, next one. Looking again at the Green Meadows Conference. Ayersville gets back-to-back GMC titles. So talking about this year and then going into next season. Tony, are you buying or are you selling?
Let me do my stock options here. Boy, I don't know about that one. That's buy. I'm going to buy.
Why are you
I
buying?
think Ayersville, Knieven comes back healthy. I know they're going to graduate a few, but I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to compete. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd be willing to take a risk. I'll buy one option of that stock.
For me, I am going to sell. The reason I am selling is because you have a couple teams coming up in the Green Meadows Conference. I actually was talking to some people. I think next season the Green Meadows Conference can be the most open that it's been in years. You talk about teams like Fairview. Coach Doug Rakes is doing a phenomenal job. You got William Zedike. We've talked about that freshman and sophomore class. They've got a lot of good 8th graders coming up, going to be in the future freshman class. I think Fairview's going to be up there as a contender. Paulding is bringing back a lot of players. Tenora is always going to be there. I certainly think Ayersville will be up there, but I don't know. I'm just not confident with as wide open as it's going to be next season. So I'm going to sell. AJ, buying or selling? Ayersville gets back-to-back GMC titles.
I guess if you're going off this as like a stocks bonds type thing, I would actually have to probably sell on this one just because it's way too many unknowns involved in this one. If I'm buying and selling stock on this, I would not take this bet because it's going to be so up in the air next year between Tenora, Paulding, Fairview, Ayersville, even Wayne Trace. I don't know.
Edgerton's another team. They have some young players that are coming back.
So a lot of these teams that have been at the bottom of the GMC the last few years are going to be leapfrogging to the top, and it's going to be a free for all next year. So I'm gonna back out of that one.
Keith, buying or selling?
I'm selling that one.
Why are you selling?
I'm selling that one. Positives, Coach Mickey, hell of a guy. We had him in here last week.
I love Coach Mickey.
We all wanted to strap on the helmet and pads and go suit up for him. But they graduate a lot of key seniors. They do. They also have some underclassmen coming back, but lose your quarterback. Delano graduates too.
Brady Clark.
Knieven's coming back, but you hope he's healthy. I mean, that's one of those injuries you don't know, but we all want him. We all want him back. You got McConnell, that freshman who performed well. So they have some young kids coming up. But to me, your skill level, your skill position players, they graduate, and it's tough to replace those. So.
All right, we're going to look at the next one here. Holgate competes with some 11-man teams. Tony, are you buying or are you selling?
Oh, you skipped one. You kind of.
Sorry. Time out.
I was ready.
Here, I'll go back to that's the next one. The previous one. Defiance keeps the upwards momentum into next year.
Call me a
Bye. I'm in. Jim Kramer helped me out there. Yeah, I think Defiance has got things going. I think they can keep the momentum going into next year.
Yeah, for myself, I am buying. I'm 100% bought in on the Defiance program with Travis Cooper. Kids are playing phenomenal right now. Back-to-back years of playoff bursts. They keep getting better. This year, they put themselves in actually a shot to compete for a WBL title. You know, obviously, they kind of struggled in the second half of the season, but they're right there. And I think, you know, give them a couple more years. They've got a lot of talented athletes there as well. They bring back some kids next season as well. I'm definitely think that Defiance keeps on riding this wave into the 2024 season. So, AJ, buying or selling? Defiance keeps the upwards momentum into next year.
Buying on that one. Definitely agree. I think Defiance has gotten everything going right for them right now, and I think it's just going to continue.
Keith.
Bye. Whenever time you have somebody like Coach Cooper leading your program and Coach Beauty in the same building, it's tough not to buy those two individuals. But buying the Bulldogs.
Next one now. Holgate competes with some 11-man teams. Back to you, Tony.
Since the word some 11-man teams, I'm buying because they can compete with some 11-man teams. Now, this year's Holgate team or next year's Holgate team? Because I might change. I'm gonna do this half and half. How about that? Can I do half and half?
You got to do one or the other.
If it's this year's team, yes, and I even think next year competing with some 11-man teams. It just depends on who you match up against. Holgate could compete against some of them. Like I think Holgate could compete against a Hicksville team this year. I think they could compete against
like North Central,
an Edger team,
or not North Central, Hilltop.
Yeah, a Hilltop team definitely. But against the Tenoras, against the Ayersvilles, against the Antwerps that we had this year, no, I don't think Holgate. And again, with Xavier McCord, maybe, but I don't think that happens next year.
And I think, looking at me, I'm going to buy because of the key term, some.
Right.
I mean, that was obviously they can go out, they can compete with some of them. You look at your top dogs, obviously no chance against Liberty Center. I mean, right. no offense to Holgate, but no one's been able to do that this season. And I think, too, it's going to be tough if you look at it next year. They do lose Xavier McCord, I believe. I believe he graduates this coming year. He's a generational talent. Again, we talk about certain kids. He's been a staple in that Holgate Tigers program. Obviously, the Tigers have a lot of other great athletes as well. But for him to contribute offense, defense, special teams, that's a huge blow to Holgate. So next year may raise some questions. But for now, this year, they won their championship last season. They're going to compete for it this season. I'm going to buy that Holgate competes with some 11-man teams. AJ, buying or selling?
Yep, buying in on that one as well, just for the same reasons.
Keith.
As Tony said, the key word here is some. So some means at least one.
Right.
So buy.
All right. Next one. For my brother, this one's for him. Bryce Bailey knows ball, according to someone who sent it in on our hot takes. Tony, you buying or selling?
Sell.
Why are you selling?
Because, he just picks the teams like some of the females pick teams. I like their colors, so I'm just gonna pick the teams. I'm just picking on your Bryce, but no, I'm just picking on him.
All right, I'll show Bryce some love here. I'm going by. I know Bryce knows football, but he is a man of the people, and he will tell you that first. So he's been telling me that all along. He's got to pick the local teams because he's rooting them all on. So I am buying. AJ,
I'm going to go ahead and buy as well. He's from the Bailey family, so he knows football. He's up there.
Keith, buying or selling?
I got buy.
Oh, so you guys all go against me. Set me up on that one, guys. I appreciate that. That's how it works, Bryce, you see?
I think if Bryce would pick him like we do, I think you would probably have a better
100%. So.
Just trying to collect all those free T-shirts and stuff
right.
from all his fans out there.
Where Bryce was a man of Archbold last year, now he's trying to get a fan of everyone else. I believe the Eden folks are loving up on Bryce for his picks. So.
Is Bryce going to have somebody make a quilt from all the school shirts he's getting?
I know. So Bryce is trying to get the in with all the schools.
So. Just picking on you, Bryce.
All right, next one. Liberty Center has the best football culture in the area. Buying or selling, Tony?
I'm gonna have to buy that one. I tell you what, their fans turn out. They pack the field, and they got great support from the community. That would be hard to beat. I mean, there's other schools out there that have that, but LC I think is probably one of the best ones.
For me, I am 100% buying. It's unreal what Liberty Center's doing there. A, with their facilities. B, with the amount of numbers they bring in for being a Division V football program. They have typically upper 60s, 70s in terms of players, fan support, and fan base. They compete with the MAC schools. We saw when we watched Liberty Center Coldwater last year down in Lima. I believe Liberty Center had way more fans there than Coldwater did.
Yes, they did.
Yep.
And that was about a halfway point. So Liberty Center, they live, breathe, and die football. And again, you drive past that amazing facility in Liberty Center, it really goes to show, what they like in that community. So I am buying. AJ?
Oh, absolutely buying. I love seeing the community rally around Liberty Center, especially when we watched them play. We were down on the field with them last year. I think it was Coldwater that we watched that game.
Yeah.
To see the team or the community rally around them at the end of the game, just fantastic. They have a culture that I would love to have been able to see that, at Tenora when I was in school. I would love to have that feeling of being surrounded by people that just love watching football.
Keith?
Bye. We're talking about a school that installed turf, and people showed up to watch the turf being installed. I mean, yeah, seriously. They showed up in the stands to watch the turf be installed.
Yep.
Well, what more is there to say?
That's all you need.
All right, next one. North Central only wins because of a weak schedule. Buying or selling, Tony?
You guys gonna set me up on this one again. I think sell. I think sell. I think North Central can win. I think they got talent, and depends on what you say. Weak schedule. I mean, the schedule they had this year was we all talked about. We think was kind of on the weak side, but I don't think that's only the reason they win. I think they got talent there. I think they can win ball games.
For myself, I am selling as well. I think, again, it goes back to that conversation we had about them getting into a conference. And some of these teams that they played, obviously they play a weaker schedule. And we know, according to Drew Pastor, I think it was like 90-something out of 106 teams in Division 7. But again, we know they're kind of dealt with the cards that they're given at this point. Right. And they're trying to go out. They're trying to find some decent opponents. Some of them had winning records as well. But at the end of the day, I think we talked North Central. I think they can go and compete with other local teams. You look at maybe like a Montpelier. You look at even Evergreen, other schools like that, but they don't even get the chance to. So I think in order for them to really kind of showcase their full potential, they need to get into a conference again. We'll continue to advocate for North Central because this staff, this community, the players, they're all sticking their neck out to try to keep this thing going. And again, no one's letting them in. So I am selling on that one. I think North Central, they can definitely win against some other local teams.
Yep, I'm right there with you guys. Selling on that one. I think they're winning because they have talent. They do have some athletes there that can help them win games. They're winning these games fairly handedly. Some of these games they're definitely winning it. It's not like they're squeaking by against some no-name team. They're winning well. So you don't do that unless you actually do have athletes there to perform.
Keith, buying or selling?
Buy.
Why are you buying?
Buying. You can only play who's on your schedule. I mean, that's the bad thing. We brought it up, hammered it to death. Just schedule a non-conference schedule for whoever the AD is there at North Central. Just has to be a nightmare every single season because you don't know. Like I can tell you who Tenor plays 3 years from now in the conference. Like you can go look and it'll tell you. Now North Central, they probably don't even know who they play next year.
Yeah, they're probably line games.
Yeah, you got to find out who's available on each individual week because all these other schools have conference games. So you're trying to pluck out schools that don't even have conference games that week, and it's
yeah, Yeah.
What a mess.
Let's look at the next one here. Looking at mandatory measuring if within 1 yard of a first down. Tony, are you buying or selling?
Can I write this bigger? I mean, so the eagle eye referees can see it better. I just get frustrated when the referee on our side of the field is pointing first down and the two referees aren't even lined up together. It ought to be automatically, if the ball's within a yard, you measure it just to take away the controversy. Place the ball wherever you want. The other thing I get mad about is they move the ball before they ever measure it. If the guy gets tackled, hold the ball there, come up and measure it, and then make the decision from that. But this guessing when the ball's within a yard is just leaves too much to guess.
For myself, I am buying as well. I think a lot of times when it comes to officiating and calls, obviously officials have the hardest job out of anyone else. Probably one of the hardest jobs in general because they're always going to be criticized. I don't like to always. Obviously, you don't want to bash them or anything because their job is tough. But at the same time, officials need to be held accountable just as if I was doing my job poorly or you and such and so on. But I also believe, I think, didn't we hear that if a coach asks for a measurement and it's close, that they're supposed to grant it? Is that what we've been told?
That's what we've been told. That's what I've been told.
So that's something I didn't even know that you could request and ask. And really,
hey, I want to measure it, and they're supposed to grant you that opportunity to measure it. Like I said, it takes away if you just measure it, it takes away the controversy.
It does.
You measure it, no, you didn't make it. You could spot the ball kind of wherever you want, and then you measure it. And then when people go out there with the stick, and you can argue, oh, it should have been placed there, it should have been placed there. But once you put the stick down and it's a first down, it's a first down.
And it takes a question away from fans because, obviously when there's a lot of debate, there's a lot of questioning. You take the sticks out there, if the ball's past it, great, move on. The fans see it, they like it, it's clean, it's done, it's over with. They can actually see it. It's not conversation that's being had or going on. But yeah, at the same time, I'm definitely buying that. So, AJ?
Yeah, I'm buying on this one as well. When I see the refs walk up there, the ball hasn't even been the running back still has the ball in his hand and they're already signaling for a first down when it's like within a yard. No, that should not be a thing. They should absolutely have to spot that ball and measure it before they can make that call. At least spot the ball first.
I mean, in multiple games this year, we've seen referees from our side of the field when the ball is on the other hash mark or even further over. And like I said, you can look at the referees. They're not even on the same yard line.
They're not even in agreement yet.
And the guy's pointing for a first down, and you're like, guys, why aren't we measuring for that?
The other point I wanted to ask, too, how many measurements do you think we've seen? We've been to 11 games this season. How many have we seen? One.
And
I think in years past, you would at least see maybe one a game at least.
11 games you saw this year, I saw one measurement.
I don't know what it is because obviously there's a lot of close calls for first downs. I don't know why it is that. If it is that they're feeling pressured to not measure, but years past we've seen multiple measurements throughout a game, at least one per game. So that's probably 10 less than what we're used to seeing if we see at least one a game in 11. So Keith, buying or selling?
Oh, definitely buy. It's almost like the referees work for Aldi's where you got to get so many items and speed your customer through. It's like, we got to get this game over by 9 o'clock.
It's like employee of the month when he's just throwing items across.
Yes. So you guys hit every nail on the head.
But with all that being said, I do think referees should be paid more for refereeing games,
right?
More training, and I think that will kind of help out some causes as well. But and we're not saying this to bash the referees. No. We obviously we have a lot of referee friends as well. Yeah. But at the same time, we just want to see a clean, crisp game called, and to the fact where calls don't affect the outcomes of games. So.
Communication. If you're communicating and you're showing, like you said, you take the sticks out there, you stick them down, and the ball's in front of the sticks, it's a first down, you move on, and people can argue about where the ball's supposed to be placed all they want, but hey, the stick said it was a first down, it's a first down, right? So you move on. But if you don't take the sticks out there and you're calling it a first down, and then it leaves everything up to debate, and then it causes issues, and coaches get mad, and I think if you just take the stick out there, done.
Hey, but you look a couple weeks ago, the 49ers-Browns game, that may pose another question.
Right.
So
That's true.
So, next one here, we have Fairview wins a GMC championship next season. Tony, buying or selling?
Boy, I know I mentioned Ayersville earlier. I think that they have a chance to get a shot of that championship. But I tell you what, I'm going to buy into this one big time. I think Fairview has the right things in place. I think Coach Rakes is back. He's got Fairview going in that direction. They've got super duper young talent. especially with Z-Dyke being a sophomore, I think he's shown great strides this year, and I think they're definitely in the hunt for the GMC championship.
For myself, Fairview wins the GMC championship next season. I'm going to buy as well. Again, they've got a lot of pieces coming up. They've got a lot of young talent. I think it's just a matter of they can all mesh together, because we've seen different times in games throughout the year where, they go out and play Bryan and it's a shootout, playing deep into the fourth quarter. Then we see other games. Fairview played Tenora, and obviously Tenora is a quality team, but Fairview kind of came out and laid an egg. But I think they definitely compete for it. I don't know if they solely win it next year,
right.
But I think they have a really good shot to get a piece of that title, because Fairview's the real deal, and we keep saying it. Paulding's another team that's young and that's going to keep coming up. I referred to them earlier. But again, the Green Meadows Conference next season is going to be wide open. AJ, buying or selling?
I'm going to go ahead and sell on this one. I think they're a year out yet. I think like the Z-Dyke's senior year is when they're going to be the most dangerous. He's going to have the most experience under his belt. He's going to have the most weapons to build upon. I think next year they're still a little young and still developing. I think they're dangerous next year, but I don't think they're going to be, at least not the sole winner of it. Maybe they get a piece of it, but I'm still on the train that I think they're still a year out yet.
Keith, buying or selling?
I'm going to buy that one. The reason is, I think the best thing that could come out of a loss was that last game against Ayersville, at Ayersville. They got a taste of, hey, what this is about. Rakes has been there, the coach. The kids, unfortunately, haven't. So they got a little preview of what it takes to get to the mountain. Tough loss in overtime, but they saw right in front of them the celebration and everything. Here's what we got to do, guys, in the offseason. 7-on-7 and lift weights, and we'll get there. So,
one thing I just kind of want to say on that point: how often do you see teams flip from 2-8 or was it 2-8? Is that what they finished at?
I believe
3-7.
Well, last year, looking at the 2022 season, they didn't win a single game. So,
right.
Yeah.
So whether they're 2-8 or 3-7, somewhere around there. Actually, I think it was 2-8. To see them potentially have a chance to flip the script completely and become, conference champion. The fact that they're even in that conversation is awesome. And I really hope Coach Rakes really does improve that team that way.
Yep. Moving on here, looking at the next one. Dominic Graziani wins Player of the Year next season in the GMC. For those of you who don't know, Dominic Graziani is a quarterback from Tenora. Tony, buying or selling?
Boy, that's a good one, and it really depends on how the team rallies around Dom. If they can bring him back, he's got some talent coming back. He is losing some big targets, but I think I'm going to buy that one. I think Dominic could be. It's going to be a battle between, I think, honest to God, we just talked about it, I think between Z-Dyke and Graziani. I think Sonora is definitely going to be up there again as a tough team. Coach Becker's going to have them ready, and I think Graziani, as he grows, we showed a lot of growth this year, his first full year as a starter, and I think next year he learns to, as the game slows down a little more for him, I think you're going to see him better, and I think you can see great things from him next year as he learns that offense more.
This is a tough one. It really is, because I'm just running through my head what player. Obviously, this would be for Offensive Player of the Year in the Green Meadows Conference. For myself, I think I'm going to sell. It's nothing against Dominic, but you look at some of the players that come back. I think he's definitely in the running, 100%. But you have Torrin Knieven coming back. Probably, you could argue he's probably the best running back in the GMC this season. A very quality athlete. You have Dominic Graziani is going to be thrown into the mix. You have William Z-Dyke. That's just tough. I really don't know. It could be either any three of them. Like you said, I think for Graziani, I think it's going to depend if he can have those weapons. There's a lot of wide receivers that are going to be lost for Tenora. And I think he has improved. We've seen him grow in leaps and bounds in the second half of the season. And I'm excited to see what he does in a second year in this new offense that Tenora is running, because I think he's going to continue to improve because he continues to grow. He's a smart player. But when you're looking at the whole outlook of the Green Meadows Conference, I just don't know. It's too tough to call, I think, at this point in time. So, AJ, buying or selling?
If Dom continues to grow in the offseason the way he did the latter half of the season here, I'm going to go ahead and buy on that one. And, that really depends on the coaching staff around him, the players around him. It's not a one-man show, so it's definitely going to take a lot more than just him growing. But I think he definitely has a shot at it.
Agree. Keith, buying or selling?
Such a tough question. With all the senior, I was looking at the all GMC team, just trying to pick a couple guys out for next year. Knieven, as Logan said, There's a lot of seniors that graduate that are first and second teamers. So, Dom, with some work in the offseason, I'm going to buy that. He could be the player of the year.
Yeah, and the thing, like, I know I was the only one that said sell, but that's not saying that he can't.
Right.
It's right. You look at, I could be any three of those guys, and who knows, there could be maybe a fourth or fifth contender, because we talked about the Green Meadows Conference is wide open. It really is next year. I don't ever remember a time where you don't really have that true front runner that is going to pick. Obviously, we've kind of looked at Fairview, but Tenora is going to be tough. Ayersville is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. Wayne Trace is always tough. Edgerton's on the upcoming. Obviously, Hicksville's, I think, is still a couple years out. Yep. But there's a lot of good teams. I will say it's going to be Offensive Player of the Year next year. It's probably William Zedike, Dominic Graziani, or Torrin Knieven. I think at least one of those three. So
that's about right.
All right. Looking at the last buy or sell, not all playoff games should be on Friday nights. Buying or selling, Tony?
Boom. That's a buy all the way, baby. Just too much going on, man. It's just, we got a shortage of referees. So you're scraping to get referees together for these games when you could be splitting the games up and playing them on 2 different nights. For us, we'd like to go watch other games besides the ones that, we're either broadcasting, or even if we're going to go to a game on the Friday night, we want to maybe catch a game on Saturday.
Right.
I just think you could get a lot more involved. A lot more people involved if you played the game, if you split the games up and played Friday and Saturday.
For myself, I am buying. I would hold up 100 of these signs if I could, because like all the points that you said, Tony, look at all the things that you're missing out playing on just Friday nights. And I believe, from what I was told or might have heard, I think some of the Coaches Association, I believe that I could be wrong.
They voted against it.
They voted against it because I don't think they like the way the schedule is throughout the week. I know it's tough, but that's the way it's been for years. But look at all the pros outweighing the cons. For me, obviously, you look at fans, people and communities, you can go and watch multiple games. That was always the cool thing, too. If you were still in the playoffs, you would go watch other teams play and kind of support those schools. But at the same time, if you only play on Fridays, you only get one option a week. For us, that was the nice thing, because we obviously cover Tenora games, but we'd like to go on Saturday nights and go watch some of these schools, but we don't get that opportunity. Obviously, this year, again, it's the same thing, even though Tenora lost, but we got to pick one game a week, and that's all we can cover. So you look at less media outlet exposure for these games. Yep. Fans don't get to go out, so crowds are going to be most likely less, because you're not getting as much pull from multiple communities. Referee shortage, you look at that as well. A very good point and valid. There's already a shortage now, so you look at quality of refs. Say you do have a couple of really good crews, and they could pull double duty and go out and ref a game on Friday night and then go somewhere Saturday night as well. So instead, they're all having to try to pull everyone that they have to go on one night during the week. So I think that's really tough. But overall, I think the pros greatly outweigh the cons when it comes to playoff games being only on Fridays. So I think they should be on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I'm buying on that one big time. I would love to be able to watch more football. I love watching it, so why not throw an extra day in there? But it comes with refs, splitting up the refs a little bit better, because I think right now, like you said, we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, just getting anybody to ref some of these games, and it's obviously playing an impact. Like we've kind of elaborated on quite a bit today. I'd love to be able to watch like a Columbus Grove play on Friday, and then Archbold play on Saturday, or something along those lines. It'd be awesome.
Keith, buying or selling?
I'm with you guys. Buy, and I can't add anything more. You guys have already hit everything.
The one thing I want to point out is, you mentioned, Logan, the Coaches Association voted against that. If there's anybody that's going to be against that, would be the coaches. Would be for that, would be the coaches, like, hey, let's play all on Friday night so they can't scout me, or so it keeps my schedule through the week.
Yeah, I think that's more normalcy. They just want to keep it like the kids, like their routine. And
but the coaches wanted to split it up. The coaches wanted to split it to have it on Friday and Saturday. That's what blows my mind. You would think the coaches would be for keeping everything on Friday, but they were actually against that. They wanted to have it split back up. To me, if the coaches wanted to stay the way it was, then you would think they would keep it that way. But
yeah, and I'd be curious to see what ticket sales would be like. But obviously, there's another factor into that as well, like crowd sizes, to see how many people are coming out, if that would affect it. But it's hard because you have too many variables going into in this season for the playoffs. So, well, that concludes our buy-sell sub-segment of the hot takes. So again, that was kind of pretty fun, something new and different since we cut out some of the other segments with postseason play. Now we'll roll into the rest of the hot takes, and we just have a few really good ones here. But the first one, hot take, is what rule changes would make the game more entertaining or better? Who wants to start here?
I got one. Let the receivers, let the people go in motion and start running towards the line of scrimmage like they do in the
Canadian Football League,
CFL or the Arena Football League, when those guys are at top speed when the ball snapped. That'd be pretty cool.
Actually, one thing, did you see, this has been a highlight in the Canadian Football League, the offensive punt. Did you see that? So basically they throw it to a receiver on offense. If it's like 3rd down and 2 or 4th down and 2 or 3rd down and 2, the receiver takes it and they punt, like do a little punt like a yard in front of them. They pick it up and it's a reset of downs. I didn't know there's such a thing. It's been highlighted so much recently because they're like, oh yeah, this Canadian football team's really utilizing the offensive punt to reset the downs. And I said, what? And I had to go back and watch it.
Wow.
So basically they throw the ball to a wide receiver out in the flats. He drops it. He touches it with his foot a couple inches in front of him. He picks it up and falls down on it. And it's a reset of downs.
Wow.
That would be weird.
But I've seen that, but I don't think that rule should be implemented. No, I do not. But
Interesting things that you could see. Yeah.
For me, I look at rule changes, and I talked to these guys earlier. We live in such a technologic society that every game, not every game, but most of the games, there's some sort of video coverage or media exposure. I think there's got to be some way, because we saw games be obviously determined due to some poor calls of officials. I think if you have access and ease of access to possible instant replay, I wonder if there's some way you can incorporate it. Obviously, Tenora, we video every single Tenora game, and we have a high definition camera. At least you can see one angle. So if you have occurrences like we saw on Friday night, maybe the referee crew, they can look at it and say, oh, wow, I think we were correct with the way our call was, and the call stands. And it would take less than 5 minutes, because as long as you have, that's the thing, there's so many different variables. Say if you don't have internet access because you're out in the country, but Tenora, for instance, you could just literally get on YouTube, rewind it 30 seconds, and you could see the whole play from start to finish. And it's only one angle, it's not multiple angles, but it'd be at least hopefully enough to kind of help verify some of these calls. So that would be kind of my main rule change.
Well, and it would also probably follow the same suit as, NFL and college, where it's got to be indisputable evidence to overturn a call. If they look at it and I can't really tell from this one angle we have, then let it stand. Right. But if obviously you come up with, the wrong player comes up with the ball, and you can clearly see what's going on, then maybe overturn it.
And obviously, I know that's kind of far-fetched, because obviously not every school is going to have access to that. Right. Not every school has video coverage. Not every school has access to the internet or Wi-Fi or cellular or whatever. So obviously that's a little more far-fetched. I would like to see something like that to avoid unfortunate circumstances, like we've seen in games, but one can only wish.
Well, as much time as they spend talking about it, you might as well spend 5 minutes looking at the video.
Right? Yeah, that's true too.
Honestly,
What do you think, Keith? What do you got to make the game more entertaining?
Boy, I really don't have anything, honestly. I think it's, other than the stuff we've already hit several times.
What about something better? That's what I said. That's why I think if you went in motion and went towards line scrimmage, that's something that can make it a little more entertaining.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where your referee just, I guess you'd take that out. You really wouldn't have illegal motion because you can move towards the line. But
I've got another good one. I think the alignment of rules from high school to college to NFL, I think they should be more similar, because obviously, moving the ball, the hash marks are different. The field goal post is different, which I agree with that. But as far as the rules where we had misinterpretations of catching the ball out of bounds during a kickoff, I think that would clear up and make it easier for people to follow, because it's some of them we don't know. Okay, that's legal in college, but it's not in NFL. It's this in high school. It's not in college. It's that in NFL. I think that would kind of help some things as well. Yep. And obviously, at the end of the day, they're still playing the sport of football, so it's just the little intricacies. I think if they could kind of align those a little bit better, I think that would be more enjoyable, and it would make the game better as well too. So obviously, I don't think a high school kicker should be kicking between NFL uprights, because I don't think you'd ever see a kicker in high school, but. I don't know. Keith, did you have any other ones?
No, I don't have any.
All right. Next one. Patrick Henry sneaks out of their region. And we talked about Patrick Henry a little bit earlier. And just pulling up the region, their Division 7, Region 26. Patrick Henry, obviously being the 5 seed, they kind of lucked out with Antwerp winning, because actually they get a second-round home game against Arlington. Antwerp losing, I'm sorry. And so they get a second-round matchup at home, and I really kind of like their chances there. So obviously, if they pull out a win this week, that's a win in round 2. I'd have to pull up the bracket to see. I know obviously there's some tough teams.
Yeah, they would run into Hopewell Loudon in the semifinals, I believe.
And you look, what is it? Tiffin Calvert, the 2 seed, they actually lost to Crestview, and Crestview whooped them. They beat them 42-14. So I think this region's really starting to open up. I think Macomb's a tough team. Actually, I think Macomb may be one of the top ones. I think Lima Central Catholic's a dark horse.
Yeah, that's
that's the one. I think the one kicker. I think Lima Central Catholic could possibly go deep in this region.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would agree with this. I think anybody that comes out of this region is going to be just sneaking out of it. It's a tough onslaught they're going to be playing in the next couple of weeks here, and I think whoever comes out of it is going to come out of it with the skin on their backs. I mean, that's going to be about it. They're going to be playing a heck of a gauntlet coming up.
Yeah, Patrick Henry's adjusted nicely. I mean, they've gotten 3 or 4 weeks to adjust to the loss of Nash, and like I said, every week Lincoln gets better. So I mean, who's to say Patrick Henry? I mean, their offense is hard to stop. I mean, and you add the confident Krieger to that mix, and who's to say they can't?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the bracket. So basically, if they beat Arlington this week, they play the winner of Pandora Gilboa and Hopewell Loudon. So could possibly be a matchup that they could fare decent with. So, and then if they win that one, they would put them in the regional final. So I still think Lima Central Catholic is going to be the team to beat in that bottom half of the bracket. Crestview did show some promise, so I think that game will be interesting because Crestview laid the hammer down on Tiffin Calvert. So I'd like to really watch that game. And who would have thought that a 7 seed would actually be hosting in the second round of playoffs? So interesting there.
Who's the 1 seed in that?
Hopewell Loudon.
Hopewell Loudon's the 1 seed. I don't know. Patrick Henry, if they get out, it's going to be sneaking out. I don't think they're going to be dominant out through there. They're going to have to, they're going to have to battle a couple games, and so to say they sneak out, I think, like AJ said, I think anybody that comes out there is probably going to be. I mean, it's just going to be one of those games where they're going to get out of there. I don't think any of those teams are going to come out, kind of like we're talking about Liberty Center, which I don't know that they're going to come out of there just blowing everybody away either. But I think Patrick Henry does, if they get out of their region. Kudos to them.
We've talked before that Division 7 Region 26 is probably one of the most complete regions from top to bottom. And I think obviously that's why you've seen a 15 seed upset a 2 seed. You saw Eden actually win a 14 seed upset 3 seed. So you already knock out the 2 and 3. And again, that goes back to Verify just being a deep region overall. Again, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how Patrick Henry does here, and then especially this week. So let's move on to the next hot take. High school kickers need to get more developed. Thoughts on this one, guys? I know we've special teams is always kind of a hot topic with us, and really don't see too many kickers anymore around the area. So thoughts on this one?
Oh, I agree 100%. It could be a fantastic part of your game that gives you an extra threat. Tenor didn't really utilize Jacob Bishop as much as they could have this year. I don't know if they necessarily had the situations they could have, but that was always a threat laying there. If they're on the 15-yard line and just can't quite punch it in, they've got that leg that can, get at least a couple points on the board. And we saw last year with LC and Elmwood, I believe, in the regional finals game, where the kicker came into play big time because Elmwood had to go for a couple of 2-point conversions and weren't able to get it, whereas Liberty Center had a solid kicker, came away with a couple of those extra points, and they started chipping away a few points at a time here. So I think the kickers, absolutely, if you want to have a well-rounded, complete team, is definitely 100% a part of a team you got to develop.
I agree. I mean, it's not only for field goal attempts, which you don't really see that many, but just kicking on a ball off, which, circling back to Antwerp, which we saw, like they seem to struggle just kicking the ball off this season, whether it was on purpose or not is. But we've, from our perspective, been spoiled the last 15, 20 years from our field goal kickers to Mosier, to Reeves, to the Camp kids, to Bishop, and I know I'm forgetting somebody in there, which I apologize. But you got Marcus Reeves kicking 50-yarders.
Yeah.
It's and Mosier's not too far behind, but you establish. Doesn't have to be somebody that's going to kick 40-yarders, just extra points.
Just consistent.
And kick the ball to the 20 on the kickoff. We can set you up defensively in a better spot, too.
Yeah, guys. I mean, we literally saw that Friday night. Winford scored and kicked the ball off and gave Tenora the ball at the 40.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they ended up with a 15-yard penalty. and that helped them get. I mean, so you're in a game where you're up by 7 and you're trying to win the ball game, and you give the other team the starting field position on the 40-yard line. That's not where you want to be with 4 minutes to go in the game. So I agree with you 100%, Keith. And honestly, if there's kids out there listening, you don't have to be a superstar stud athlete that runs the ball for 150 yards every game. I mean, it doesn't take much to go out there and learn how to kick a ball. And you might be a great kicker, and all you do is go kick.
That's it.
And
you punter, kicker. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's all you want to do, then you can make the team.
I really get concerned a little bit is why we don't develop the kicking game more as a team. You don't have to have the quarterback hold the ball. Have a kicker. Have another athlete that can catch the ball and place the ball, and just have them do that all practice long. I mean, you could develop that. That could win you so many ball games if you have a kid if you can be consistent there and just boot the ball and kick 35, 40 yarders. You put points on the board when nobody else is putting points on the board.
I want to throw punters into that conversation too, because we talk about flipping the field. I think one game we saw Jacob Bishop, he punted the ball it was like a 60-something yard punt. And it was a coffin corner kick. It was literally at the 1 yard line. That is demoralizing. That's exactly what you want. You want someone out there that's going to flip the field, because statistically looking at things, for your chances of scoring any kind of points from the 10 yard line starting compared to the 40, it's astronomical. So the fact that if you can flip the field and you can push the teams deep into their own end zone, that's a game changer, and that really helps out your offense. It really helps out your defense because of the field position.
Right.
So
unless you're Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, you don't punt. You just pass it on. Sorry about that.
Spoken like a true Browns fan.
Absolutely. Continue.
No, but I think we've talked about it. We don't even really see kickers kick extra points anymore at this point. Everyone's going for 2. No one's kicking at all. But when it comes down to crunch time, having a quality kicker / punter is really a key on teams, and it can really make a difference in games, and it obviously help in playoffs too. Actually, I just saw, I think a game down in South Carolina actually won the game on a free kick, which is a rare play anyways. He kicked a 47-yard field goal to win the game. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, you never know what opportunities are going to arise. But if you don't even have that threat, then you don't even put yourself in give that chance to go on. So
I mean, if you want to work on your not to elaborate anymore, but it's one of those crafts you can literally work on in your backyard by yourself. Right. You get a couple of footballs, you kick a couple this way, you go get them, then you kick them back. I mean, if you want to ask the coach for a couple of balls in the off season, I'm sure he'd let you have a couple of balls just to practice punting. So if you like football, but you're intimidated, I don't think I'm big enough, I don't want to get hit, but you're still a quality, you can kick or punt, you still have a place on the team.
Yeah,
they're not going to put you an inside linebacker.
Yeah, go to a camp. Yeah, go to a camp and take some lessons and learn how to kick. And I tell you what, kickers get drafted too. You know what I mean? And
who's the kid Verhoff that went to Marshall? He's kicking for Marshall right now.
He walked on and he was granted a put on scholarship. So who knows? I mean, that can help pay for your education.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're not out there getting beat up. I think, parents are worried about concussions and all that stuff. I mean, I see a lot of kids out there that are talented. Maybe not to be the best. They wouldn't be the best ball carrier, but could kick a ball.
Yep.
Coach will take them out there. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the last hot take here. And this hot take is the state championship game should be played at Ohio State.
Bye. No, we're not doing that anymore. Yes, absolutely. I think for me, it's for several reasons. Number one, it's centrally located. There's no reason a team from Cincinnati should have to drive all the way to Canton to play a game. It's just logistically, it's not fair to them. And whether you're a Buckeye fan or not, playing in this shoe would be an awesome experience, just to be in that stadium and have that experience and be able to run out of that tunnel and that kind of thing would be a neat experience. And I think there's tons of things to do down there for the fans that could be around. It's, because it's a college town. There's tons of stuff around the stadium for people to do, places to go eat, that kind of thing. I think it would be it would bring more of a football atmosphere than it can. That's my opinion.
I think I agree with you, Tony. And I had the opportunity to play at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium when I was with Finley. We played Walsh there a couple times, Malone when they had a football program. It's a unique facility. It's neat to play at. It's an NFL. Obviously, they play preseason games there. Locker rooms are nice. It's nothing because it's a neutral site, so it's not like they're all decked out like a normal NFL team. But again, I think Columbus would make most sense being centrally located logistic-wise. It's in the middle of the state. I think there's more to do in Columbus than obviously Canton. Canton's kind of I don't even know how I would describe the town. I think an industrial type town. Just a different vibe than what Columbus gives. And I think it'd be neat to primarily host it in Columbus, but I think, maybe every 5-10 years, go to Canton just once at least. The reason I say that is to at least give the kids an opportunity to go through like the Hall of Fame Museum and stuff like that. That was something I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
Yep.
It's pretty cool experience to go through and see everything. And, obviously there's a lot of things about the NFL, but just football in general. I think it's a very humbling experience to see how the game has progressed through the years and to see all the superstars of the NFL and the Hall of Fame. And I think that's a very cool experience. But I think I have to agree with you. I think I'd rather see it at Ohio State, but every few years maybe change it up and have it hosted at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. So, AJ, Keith?
I completely agree. I really don't have much more to add. I think it would be incredible to walk on the Ohio State field as a player. I've been there once, I think, or twice on the field, like just touring it a little bit. But I would love to suit up and step onto that field. It'd be cool.
Keith?
I mean, for everybody, I think it would be fantastic. But for whatever reason, like they moved everything out of Ohio out of Columbus. I don't think there's anything down there anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not
state track meet is the only thing I think.
Yeah.
No, well, I think state track this year. I think I saw it's going to be down in Dayton.
Yeah.
now.
Yes,
What?
Yes. I don't think Columbus hosts anything anymore. Everything's been moved out.
Which is crazy
baseball
because
was in Huntington Center down there.
Baseball is now.
Maybe
I believe
wrestling. That may be it.
I think baseball is now
That's
Canton or Akron area, similar to where softball is.
Softball's in Akron.
Wow. So
basketball still played at the Schottenstein Center, right?
No,
They moved that too.
It's been down at Dayton. So
Holy moly!
yeah, I don't. It's not like it used to be. We used to think of state. Everything used to be down in Columbus, but now it's all Dayton's kind of overtaken everything. So
Yeah, I know when you guys played state baseball, that was at the Huntington Field down there in Columbus. It's unfortunate. I don't know if it's something to do with Columbus or with Ohio State or
it might do with financials and money too.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything seems to be involved about the money.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of interesting. But at the end of the day, I think for the most part, when you think of a state championship, you think of being in the capital of the state, being in the center of the state, things like that. So.
I mean, think about Indiana, guys. Indiana's a little bit different, but think about Indiana playing their state championship game in South Bend. I mean, that would be pretty cool to play in Notre Dame's field. But it's not very logistic for the people that are from Evansville, for instance, having to drive all the way across the state, but so they play their stuff in Indianapolis.
All right. Well, that concludes our hot takes and our buying or selling sub-segment. So we had a lot of fun with those. Again, I'll continue to post those, and you guys can submit those from the fans. We enjoy doing that, and we thank BSN Sports again for being a great sponsor and sponsoring that segment. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with our game predictions.
Crystal Vasquez of Amerimaid Realty is a top real estate agent in Northwest Ohio. Crystal's compassion and enthusiasm allow her to find that special property or house just for you. Located in Bryan, Ohio. Give her a call today at 419-799-1243. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio. Call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Thunderdome is your local indoor softball and baseball facility offering private lessons, turf infield, batting cages, and pitching machine rentals, even offering a golf simulator. Located in Archbold, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-906-3643. Nicely Rentals and Storage is your go-to venue for graduation parties, birthdays, weddings, and more. Also offering vehicle storage, table and chair rentals, and U-Haul equipment. Located in Ayersville, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-439-6177.
Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565.
Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're looking at game predictions for round 2 of the playoffs. We're going to go ahead. We're going to start with Division 3, Region 10. We're looking at the 9 seed Defiance 8-3, going to the 1 seed Toledo Central Catholic 11-0. According to Drew Pasture, Toledo Central Catholic is given a 99% chance to win, and by 37 points. You look at Toledo Central Catholic, they're a whole nother beast. They're coming off a state championship last season. They participate in the new, it's like Toledo, Detroit Catholic League, essentially, and they actually faced Detroit Cass Tech for the final game, and that was the championship, and Cass Tech is a powerhouse, and they beat them 48-23. They beat teams like Warren De La Salle 28-23. Again, Warren De La Salle is another powerhouse in Michigan football. So kind of know what's on Defiance's hands going into this. Toledo Central Catholic also has a 3-star offensive lineman, Mark Ney, who recently he decommitted from Ohio State back in September, but he's got offers from Ohio State, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisville, Auburn, and the list goes on and on. With all that being said, Defiance is going to have their hands full. I think if they want a shot in this one, they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to control the clock. They're going to have to keep the ball out of Toledo Central Catholic's hands. And if they can do that, I think it gives them a small chance to win. But we know what's on hand here with Toledo Central Catholic. They're just another beast. They've been a powerhouse in the state for a long time. I'm going Toledo Central Catholic in this one.
Yeah, for me, I think Defiance's season comes to an end this week, unfortunately. Wish them the best of luck, and hopefully they can control the rock, like you said, Logan, and maybe keep it close. But I just think Toledo Central Catholic's going to be too tough for them.
And fun fact real quick, actually the last time Defiance played Toledo Central Catholic was in the playoffs. I believe in 2012. It was when Deshaun Kaiser was the quarterback.
Oh.
And Deshaun Kaiser went on to play at Notre Dame, and then he actually played for the Browns for a little bit as well. So.
Yep. Well, yeah, I think unfortunately Defiance's season comes to end here. At least it's going to be a lot shorter of a drive, so they got that going for them. But I think Toledo Central Catholic is just so dominant. I think they're going to take this one.
Yeah, I took LCC. Again, it goes back to Coach Cooper, just
TCC.
TCC, not LCC. Yeah, that'll be next. If you're Coach Cooper, all you can preach is just play one play at a time. Don't get involved in the whole game, hey, they're better than us, and just win your play, and we'll see what happens at the end.
You got to win each battle. You can't win the whole war in one play. So
Yep.
Just taking it play by play. I agree with you, Keith. Bryce had Defiance, a man of the people. So he's going to continue to pick his local teams each week. And Matthew had Toledo Central Catholic. So all of us except for Bryce had Toledo Central Catholic. Next game, looking at Division 4, Region 14, the 6th seed Van Wert 8-3 travels to the 3 seed Shelby 9-2. Shelby is given a 57% chance to win and by 3 points, according to Drew Pasture. I really had to sit and think about this one, and I had to compare the two teams. I think this is going to be a good matchup, actually. I think they're both pretty evenly matched. The thing that I had to look at Shelby is they've got a couple of really nice wins here. They have a 37-31 win in Week 9 against a 10-1 Ontario team. That's a Division 3 team. So that's an excellent win on their resume. Just going through, they've got some other good wins. They've got a 62-26 win over a Galleon 8-3 Division 4 team, another quality win. So I look at these, and I look at Van Wert. I think Van Wert's kind of coming into their own lately. They're letting, their quarterback and, Brylan Parker develop and really let him do his athletic things back there in the backfield. We know he's an all-state running back. He's back there playing quarterback, but he's been doing well, taking care of the football lately. I just don't know if Van Wert has the consistency to pull off the win against Shelby. I think this game's going to be close, but I'm going Shelby.
I took Shelby. About everything you just said, Logan. I looked at it as well. Two or three different pages and see what they had to say about Shelby, and pulling for Van Wert, but taking Shelby.
I'm going to go with Shelby, but I think it's going to be a shootout to the end.
I took Shelby. I think they're going to be too powerful for Van Wert.
Bryce had Van Wert as expected, and Matthew had Shelby. Next game, looking at the 10 seed Napoleon, 6-5, travels to the number 2 seed Glenville, 8-3. again, similar to Toledo Central Catholic, Glenville's just another one of those beasts in Ohio football. Glenville's got a couple of star athletes. They have a 4-star tight end in Demarion Witten. He's committed to Ohio State. A 4-star defensive back in Bryce West. He's committed to Ohio State. And again, actually Napoleon and Glenville matched up last season as well, I believe. And I had actually some people say that Glenville players were telling the Napoleon players that they hit unlike any other team that they've seen. So that kind of goes to show what kind of brand of football Northwest Ohio is about. Usually tough, physical, hard-nosed teams. I think Napoleon goes out and competes, but at the end of the day, I think Glenville's just got too much talent. I think I'm going Glenville.
I'm taking Glenville for all the pre-mentioned points from Logan. They're just like a small, or they're a Ohio high school powerhouse. They have been for.
Wasn't last year? Didn't Napoleon have the lead in that game last year?
I think it might have been Van Wert.
It was Van Wert.
Or Van Wert, yeah. Van Wert was playing them. Had the lead.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, my bad.
Just Glenville is Glenville, and they're going to be a powerhouse to fight with. So, unfortunately, I'm going to go with Glenville here.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I root for Napoleon all the way, but I just think Glenville's got too much talent.
And Bryce had Napoleon, and Matthew had Glenville. And actually, I had to look up, their mascot is the Glenville Tar Blooder. And I had to look up what the heck is a Tar Blooder. I've never heard of that before. So actually, a tar blooder is a school battle cry that started during the 1940s, indicating that members of the Glenville athletic teams would whack the tar and blood from its opponents. Thus, our colors are red and black. So, fun fact for you, that's why their teams are called the Tar Blooders.
Tar Blooders.
Wow. Okay. Just because they whoop the tar and the blood.
Because they whack the tar and blood from their opponents.
Because they whack the tar out of you, huh? I don't know.
Okay. I had never heard of that mascot before. So
they'll probably be changing that in a couple of years because it's too offensive.
Yeah.
Right. No kidding. So,
no.
Kidding.
They're not the Indians, so they're okay. It's not an Indian, so you're good.
Looking at the next division here, Division 5, Region 18. The 8 seed Huron, 8-3, travels to the 1 seed Liberty Center, 11-0. Liberty Center is favored in this one, according to Drew Pastor, given a 94% chance to win and by 27 points. Again, we know what Liberty Center is about. Now Liberty Center really starts to get into the grind of the playoffs. Obviously, we know Elmwood going into that game last week was 3-7, I believe. Now Liberty Center is going to have a little bit of a challenge, but I think at the end of the day, they've got that ground and pound attack, and I don't know how no one stopped it. Do you put 11 guys in the box? I don't know. But no one seemed to figure that out, and no one's even come close. And the closest this season has been none other than Tenora in week 1. So I am going Liberty Center, and I think they win big in this one.
Yes, I kind of laugh, but you're almost serious. Like what Logan says, you put 11 guys on the line. What do you got to lose? Hey, let's see what happens. And this is put 11 guys, and they want to throw, they can throw, but they're not going to run on us. So we'll see. But I'm taking Liberty Center. They're just going to have to just beat themselves here to lose.
I think even at that point, Coach Mueller will still find a way to motivate those boys to run the ball against 11 down linemen. The one thing Liberty Center does have going for them, they've kind of played around a little bit with the pass, and it seems like it was effective when they did. So I think that's kind of a sleeping weapon for them. You've got athletes to throw to. So even if they do get stopped on the run a little bit, slowed down, I think they can open it right back up with the pass game if they really need to. But, Liberty Center is going to take this one big.
Yeah, I'm definitely picking Liberty Center. And Keith, you mentioned that they're going to beat themselves. And if you look back at the Tenora game, they did kind of beat themselves up a little bit in the first half of that game. Low snaps, dropping balls, that kind of thing. Since then, they've been pretty much firing on all cylinders. So Liberty Center.
And Bryce and Matthew both had Liberty Center. So Liberty Center across the board. Next game here, looking at the same region and Division 5, Region 18. And this is going to be the NWO Sports Game of the Week. And we will be at this game. And that is the 6 seed Coldwater 10-1 at the 3 seed Archbold 10-1. And this one's going to be a hard-fought battle for sure. Coldwater is favored in this one, according to Drew Pastor, given a 68% chance to win and by 8 points. Archbold is actually 1-0 all-time versus Coldwater in this series. Wow, talk about two historically excellent programs. Obviously, Coldwater is probably a little bit more well-known and has had a little bit more success than Archbold. But again, they both have really good athletes. Coldwater's been battle-tested this year, playing in the MAC. That's obviously probably one of the toughest conferences in the state in terms of depth from top to bottom. Coldwater's coming off a tough loss to their only loss is to Marion Local, which typically Marion Local will always win state.
Yep.
So state champion, and mind you, they are in Division 7, I believe, or 6 or 7. I can't remember this year what Marion Local dropped to, but nonetheless, always state champions. This one's tough. I've been back and forth on this, back and forth. I think I'm going to go Archbold, and my reasoning is I think they've played potential state champion already in Liberty Center, so they know what it takes to beat the best. I think Archbold has learned from those mistakes. I think they've grown, and they've kind of been in cruise control the last half of the season. I think they figured things out. They're a very dynamic team on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Dominic does an excellent job with them. I think they're linemen. They've got the size there. They've got the physicality. I think Archbold, I think they can win this game. I'm going the Blue Streaks, but I think they have to play clean. They cannot afford any extra penalties. They cannot afford any turnovers because this game could go either way in a flip of a coin. So I'm going the Blue Streaks.
Going to upset the Archbold folk. I'm taking Coldwater. I just like similar points to Logan said. NWO and the MAC. Competition is there this year for Archbold, playing as well as anybody in the area, and really the only beatdown they had was the loss to Liberty Center. But Coldwater, just again one of those powerhouses that just win year after year after year after year after year. Just have winning built in them when they're born, I think.
I'm going to go with Archbold here because I'm really, really pulling for a LC Archbold rematch for the regional finals.
Yep.
I think that would be probably one of the biggest football games outside of a state championship game that you would see in Northwest Ohio. I'm really looking forward to the potential for that. So I'm pulling for Archbold here.
Boy, oh boy. I've got Archbold picked, but I tell you what, the more I look at it, I think Archbold's going to take care of business here, in my opinion. Coldwater's got to travel a long ways, but they're going to bring a ton of people with them. I don't think that's going to be a problem. They're going to travel well. Archbold's a tough place to go in and win, and the only reason I'm really picking Archbold is because they're playing at home. If Archbold was going to Coldwater, I'd be going the other way. I'm going to be honest with you.
Looking at the next game here, we're looking at Division 6, Region 22. The 9-seed Black River, 8-3, travels to the 1-seed Columbus Grove, 9-2. Columbus Grove is favored in this one, according to Drew Pastor, given a 97% chance to win and by 30 points. And I kind of broke down these teams, and I looked, and Black River, not a bad team. I looked through, looking at some of their wins and their losses, and they play some tough teams. They had a loss in Week 9, 19-26 to a Clearview team. They're a 9-2 Division 5 team. They have a really good win against a Columbia 10-1 Division 6 Region 22 team. So they definitely played some quality competition. But again, Columbus Grove, they've been in another mindset here in the last half of the season. Obviously, they dropped those two games, those two losses early in the season to a couple quality opponents in both Pandora Gilboa and in Patrick Henry. But I think they've corrected things. Their defense is playing phenomenal right now. I think that they go on, and I think Columbus Grove ends up winning this one. Again, it's tough to win at Clymer Stadium. Everyone knows that, and their brother.
Yep.
So it's like you better buckle up and be ready come game time if you're coming into town at Columbus Grove.
Bulldogs for everything Logan just said.
Yeah, Columbus Grove.
Yep, easy one. Columbus Grove.
And Bryce and Matthew both had Columbus Grove. Next game here, we are looking at the 13-seed Arlington, 7-4, heading to the 5-seed Patrick Henry, 9-2. Patrick Henry is favored in this one, according to Drew Pasteur, given an 85% chance to win and by 19 points. We've kind of talked about Patrick Henry, I feel like, a fair amount this podcast. I think Lincoln Krieger, quarterback for the Patriots, is really coming into his own. He's really developing over the last part of the season here. And they're going to have to rely on him throwing the ball some here, especially getting into deep in the playoffs. It's good to see Landon Johnson get back involved in the game. Last game that they played, get him some receptions, and he always does his thing. But I like Patrick Henry's chances. I think they're going to come out, they're going to take care of business, and they're moving on to round 3.
Yeah, that's the key here is to stop the run of Arlington. Coach I, obviously, he's watched the film. I think Patrick Henry squeezes this one out.
Yeah, I'm taking Patrick Henry here as well.
Yeah, I'm taking Coach I and his 30-plus years of coaching experience
and
fix this one up.
Bryce and Matthew both had Patrick Henry as well. Last 11-man game here, we're looking at the 14 seeds, 7-4 Eden, heading to the 6 seed Macomb, 9-2. I don't know. I look at this. Macomb, they're a tough opponent. Macomb is they're coached by Chris Alge. He's one of the better coaches around the area. To his 26th season, I believe. He's got 200-plus wins as a coach. You look at this game as well. From Eden's side, they have Coach Bob Olwin. He's been coaching for 45-plus years as well. So there's a lot of experience in this game. I think Macomb has played in a little bit tougher conference, and they're a little more battle-tested than Eden. Macomb comes out of playing, some Blanchard Valley Conference teams. I think they're going to come out, and I think Macomb gets the win. It was nice to see Eden get that first-round victory, but again, Macomb is a whole nother beast here, so I'm going Macomb.
Taking Macomb as well.
Yep, I'm going with Macomb.
Macomb, because I think they're going to be way too physical.
Bryce had Eden, and Matthew had Macomb. And the last game we're going to look at, this will be our NWO Sports Game of the Week, and that's going to be 8-man championship. Toledo Christian 8-2, facing off against the Holgate Tigers 9-1. That game will be played Saturday at 7 p.m. at Liberty Center's complex, their beautiful complex there. Wow. You couldn't ask for much more if you're talking 8-man football. These two played earlier in the season. Toledo Christian, they got them the first time they matched up. Again, we talk about time and time again, how hard is it to beat a team twice in one season? We're going to find out because Holgate, they're the reigning champs. I think they're going to come out. I think Coach Wagner's got their game plan. It's going to be all set up. I'm going the Tigers in this one, and I'm excited to see them hopefully win another championship.
I'm going the other way. I'm taking Toledo Christian.
Boo.
Yes. Got to make some games up somehow. This is a flip game for me.
I'm going to go with the Tigers.
It's supposed to be a nice night. I think Xavier McCord's going to have a good night. I think the Holgate Tigers, so we'll take this one home.
And Bryce had Holgate, and Matthew had Toledo Christian, so we were split on that game. So
send all those T-shirts to Bryce Bailey at University of Toledo.
Yeah, no kidding. Right, Bryce has picked all the local teams. Again, he's a fan favorite. He's a man of the people, as he will tell you. So
I see Keith's strategy here, Logan. He's trying to get back into second place.
Trying to edge a game or two here. Yes,
picked a couple different than you, so maybe he can pop over top of you.
Hey, well, I know the Holgate Tigers are going to come out to play, so they're going to have me just doing right. So, all right. Well, that concludes our picks, and so, guys, that concludes the podcast. Closing thoughts.
It's going to be an exciting week, guys, and I wish I could be around to see it. It's going to be a great round of playoff games. A lot of good games out there, and like Keith's been saying all the time, man, just get out there and play and enjoy it. It's going to be nice weather, so have a good weekend, man.
Yeah, I don't think it can be overstated enough that get out there and enjoy the final weeks, final week or, last couple weeks here, depending on who you're playing against or whatever's going on. Just enjoy the football while it's still here because it's very quickly coming to a close. And for those seniors, for sure, you'll never get these moments back and you'll miss it for the rest of your life.
Yep, I really don't have too much to add. I mean, it's fun just getting with these guys. We can't do it on Friday nights anymore. And thanks everybody who did watch and listen to us on Friday nights. As Tony said, I think we had close to 700 views, live views watching our Friday night game. So, but thank these guys for fantastic Friday night, and at least we get to come back here on Tuesdays and do this for a couple more weeks. So.
Yeah, for me, I don't really have much. Just obviously, if you're an athlete and a football player, go out there and give it your all because games are winding down. If you're a senior, you lose, you're done. And most kids, they don't go on to play college. They don't go on to play pros. They don't. You start real life. So enjoy it while you can. Hopefully some decent weather, I think. I know it's going to be cooler than obviously last week. I don't think you can ever ask again for 70-degree weather in Ohio for playoff weather. So
we'll take mid-50s. I'm all right with that.
Yeah. So other than that, we will be heading, obviously, like we said, to the Archbold and Coldwater game. And then some of us, we'll see who all goes, but we'll be heading to the Holgate and Toledo Christian game as well. So we're excited to see what those teams have to bring. And it's nice that we get to go see some other teams in the area play. So other than that, we will conclude our podcast. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors, 3Chord, Optimal Performance Fitness, BSN Sports and Jim Garris, Pat and Stevens Body Shop, Tenora Rams Live, Jimenez Basketball Academy, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, NWO Basketball, The Drop Zone Pizzeria, Crystal Vasquez of Amerimaid Realty, Nicely Storage and Rentals, The Thunderdome, and Truland Equipment and Lauren Brown. We'd again like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility here at Batt and Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.